Welcome back to the home studio. Welcome to episode number 71 of the Stevie Richards Show. Once again, we have questions and hopefully we have answers. Here to ask the questions and help me with the answers is my handler and co-host, James Romero.
I prefer Wrangler.
Wrangler. No, I'm not that out of control. You're
No,
all
it makes
over
me
the
sound
place.
like a Zoom.
I'm looking at, like, I stopped working out this morning. I do stop working out, by the way, from time to time. And I go and check out YouTube, and you already have a video up at probably 6 a.m. here in East Coast time.
I know, but it was like 12 here, or 11 or whenever. I think it was 11. But hey, man, I'm doing my best. You got to make that bag while you can. What can I tell you?
Yeah, the James Romero channel, List Mania is doing great. You released that Ric Flair video. He didn't win. I didn't watch it yet. Encourage everybody to watch it. So he did not win.
That's a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but you watch it and tell me what happened. No,
I watched it back and went, ooh, that's very interesting.
I have not. Oh, of course you did. But he did not win the world title over 16 times.
I'll give you the number. I think it's 23.
Oh, so it's higher. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Right. So there's loads of disputed ones with, because there was the WCW International title. I recorded that a long time ago, so I can't remember my own research. But you know when like the NWA and WCW titles split, and then there was the big gold belt, and then a secondary heavyweight title kind of thing.
Yeah, like Rude had that international title back in WCW.
Yeah, so it's kind of, do you argue if that's a world title? And then if it's a world title, then you also say, well, Rick Rude's been a world champion then as well. So that's up to people if they want to decide if it is or it isn't. Ric Flair won and lost the NWA championship like 3-4 different times during his first run that went not undocumented, but unrecognized by the NWA. And there are other things like he lost it to the Midnight Rider, but then does that constitute actually losing the belt because it was returned to him? And it's all semantics and stuff, quite a lot of them. But I mean, you can argue at the very least 21. I argued 23. But I think if you were being really charitable, you could say 26, 25 or 26. Yeah.
You know what's funny about that is that reminds me that we talk about wrestling and rehashed things and things coming back. That was a whole confusing bit with WCW. And we have the same thing with WWE, with the WWE title and the World Heavyweight title, which is the most important world title. There's not really a brand split until they need the ratings for a draft. But right now, there's a confusion about what is the, I guess it'll never get answered. Enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show. Triple H is going to be coming up later.
I was about to say, one thing for sure, that dude's going to unite both belts. That's what I feel like in Saudi Arabia. As he wears the outfit you want him to wear.
Well, Turkey likes that. That's
Turkey likes that. I wish we could make that hostage picture into a T-shirt.
Like an orange T-shirt, forget it. All right then, intro, which I've written down on my page here. PWTs are on PWTs, the Stevie Richards Show, BWO official merchandise there, as well as Stevie Richards Show official merchandise T-shirts. Fitness, the YouTube fitness on Stevie Richards. The link is actually in not the description, but it is in the description. But on this channel, on the homepage as well, Stevie's looking to be doing a sort of fit over 50 kind of thing as well, which you've been threatening for a while.
No, I mean, I'm not fit like Jericho, but I'm trying to get fit at 54, doing my best. Could talk about that. He's trying to put it out there, maybe Royal Rumble, big Saudi Arabian payoff.
Is it bad that I said he can't? I mean, he does look, healthy. He's got abs and everything, but it's like abs are so long, he does look like Zoidberg without the shell.
It's like a 10-pack, right?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's like a
or
turtle.
just like a. They're not like packs. They're more like hot dogs. Yeah, they're kind of like hot dog, kind of like length abs. The cameo, the Stevie Richards cameo, of course. The reason why he gets so many people requesting cameos is because he's one of the best people on the entire platform, not just wrestlers, but anybody on the platform. One of the most requested celebrities, of course. And we're in the run-up to Christmas as well, so if you want to treat yourself or the man you love or the woman you love, then why not get them a Stevie Richards cameo as well? Because if nothing else, I mean, how many, you're doing dozens a week now, so for goodness sake, it's...
Not dozens, but I mean, I definitely stay busy with them. I appreciate it. By the way, I didn't know if you plan to add another channel onto your thorough or the list. Yeah, because you have that 80s love song radio voice you just belted out just now.
With
the man you
love,
love,
for the woman you love.
Or that's a movie trailer voice, actually. Yeah, you should start voicing over movie trailers as well.
In a world.
Oh, that was a bit too loud.
In a world.
The thing is, you speak very close to your microphone, and I don't. So I think some of my bass is lost from it.
I mean, it's all those Gail Kim ear slaps, to this old loser here. We'll do a little callback on that.
I was going to say, how many did he get? Just the one?
No, probably a good 3. We wrestled tag matches like 3 times. When you don't want to get slapped in the ear, don't ask people to not slap you in the ear, because that's Murphy's Law in effect. She didn't mean to, but obviously it happened. Let's move on while I can still barely hear and talk about the Patreon.
Yes, of course, the Stevie Richards Show Patreon, the most important thing we plug every single week. You get the show before the show, which is essentially its own sort of mini podcast before the main one. You also get the show notes and everything else like that. You get behind-the-scenes footage. You get Stevie's obsessive-compulsive disorder when it comes to, of course, all the technology that he goes through and switches up every single week because he's not happy with it and then has to come up with a new concept, which we're apparently breaking out a new concept today as well, but also... The biggest hook, I think, is the watch-alongs that we do every single week. Last week was Roddy Piper, WrestleMania 1. It was the main event, so it's Piper, Orndorff, Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, with Pat Patterson. I was going to say Muhammad Ali as referee. He walked out there with a shirt on, but Pat Patterson actually refereed it, and Jimmy Snuka and Bob Orton also were on the outside as well. And this upcoming Monday will be... Undertaker versus, we just watched it. Undertaker versus Hulk Hogan. Yeah, the Got Me Brother match, Survivor Series 1991. In honor of Survivor Series, of course.
Yeah, and that's the one where, we watched it. The post-match, Hogan laying there, it's my neck, got me, brother, was every bit as long as the actual match, which was a very, I have to say, you might find it might not hold up well, as James would say, but I feel like the gears in that match and the story that we're telling to really get Undertaker over as a indestructible, a non-selling, non-bumping force was a good play. I'm still amazed Hogan let him hit him with everything. And Undertaker, I said it during the watch along. It's easier when stuff doesn't hurt to actually register and act like you're selling than when that Formica ring, the WrestleMania 3 ring, you do a big elbow and bump on it. You have to sit right up and act like it didn't hurt at all. That's dedication.
How many, let's not say inches, feet away was was Hulk Hogan's head from that ring and that chair when the second tombstone? I mean, the first one was bad enough, but the second one, my goodness.
I think the measurement I would use is it's about the length and the height of the new green screen that's coming, because it was pretty. Yeah, he
was parsecs.
And you said he was choking. Well, you want to call it choking him. He was literally handling him with kids' gloves. When he choked him over the ropes, you said he just kind of gently, like it was almost like he gently was waking him up from a nap.
So there's a bit where he's, in the 619 position, if you're prone and prostrate there with your head over the rope. And he sort of went like hard the first 90% to like grab the back of his hair. And then grabbed it. It was so gentle.
Little baby, don't you? Started singing him a lullaby. Lullaby. What's up with my Philly accent today? Lullaby. There we go.
Well, I was going to say we're going to hear a lot more of that Philly accent, but we're going to go straight into it with the fan questions now. So these were all submitted, I don't know, probably a couple of months ago now. Some of them were submitted earlier. And once again, I think we'll open up the questions for the next episode, but there are so many in the queue that are really good as well. But we're going to open up more probably in a few weeks for the next episode. And we're going to probably also do some extra fan questions over Christmas as well. So kind of plow through some of those, but we're going to go straight into it. Maintenance 241. A lot of these are usernames, by the way, of YouTube. So how was working with William Regal? If you didn't have any matches, just general experience works. Now, we actually did a What Went Right not too long ago with Finley and Regal, but your personal experiences with Regal.
Well, with Regal, I worked one time with him on the independent wrestling circuit, and it was so much fun to do. And I was so nervous because Regal's stuff is so believable, much like Fit Finley and a few other people you can throw in that category, mostly World of Sport guys, European style, very rough, strong style wrestling. So I was really nervous, number one. does his stuff hurt? Is it there? Number 2 is like 1A, 1B in a way. Am I going to be able to keep up technically? Am I going to be able to keep up from a conditioning standpoint? Although we're not going to run the ropes a whole lot, there's still a lot of movement in that. And there's a lot with amateur wrestling that can exhaust you and blow you up in a whole different way than regular professional wrestling. These were the things I was nervous. And I voiced that nervousness to him. And he said, I'm going to tell you right now, I am an artiste. I was like, what do you mean? And he just went like this. And he goes, this is what you'll feel the whole time. And he literally said something that I think I said metaphorically many, many times about wrestlers like Regal, Finlay, and other people. You just have to stand there. And they're gonna put you where you need you. They turn you around, snap, marry you. All they need to do is have an opening and make sure that you're nice and loose. And that's what it was like when I wrestled him. Now, the unique part about the show I wrestled him, and he dared me to do this, and of course, I'm going to take this dare every day of the week. It was a stadium show where there was no people for like half the stadium. All the people were back there like home plate type thing. And he goes, I will get extremely mad at you if you do not go up into the corners and appeal to the crowd that is not there in the empty part of the. So we did yay boo spots on the corners where there was no people. and the people behind us were still doing the yay boo stuff, which was funny. So, but when we worked, I'm gonna have to tell you, I don't even remember like a spot that was called outside of the finish. I don't remember ever like initiating anything. In other words, in a good way. I literally just stood there, followed, let my body be loose, and he literally wrestled a broomstick. And it was the easiest match, or maybe the top 3, one of the easiest matches I've ever had. He's a pro. That's why he's in NXT. That's why he's helping at the Performance Center. That's why he's scouting. I don't know if he's still doing, but he was scouting talent overseas as well for all these tryouts. Nah, man, you can't get much better than him, except if you were going to argue we should do it. We did it with Brett and Sean, and we did it with Logan Paul, Kevin Nash, Brett and Owen. We should do Regal versus Finlay. Who was better? That's interesting.
That'll be a controversial one. What year was this? Like, was this before you were with the WWF then, when he was gone from WCW?
No, this I think was after WWE, and he was not with WWE for a short amount of time or doing something. I can't put man, that's a great question, because if I could think about it, it was actually after I got released in 2008, but I'm not sure where he was at that particular point because he was with WWE. So my only other guess would be that it would be a lot later down the line, maybe even post TNA.
That's going to be something I'm going to Google in a minute. So, okay. And you've pretty much said it already, but is Regal, or pretty much any of the World of Sport or European style wrestlers who actually know the craft, are they the kind of people who can always put you where you need to be?
100%. Yeah. That's exactly what happened. Now you have to initiate or be part of the struggle. You can't just stand there and like make him look like he's wrestling the Invisible Man. But if he grabs something, you reverse it, then he basically, as long as your body is not stiff and you're not, how should I say, resisting when the time is supposed to be that way. You know, you have to resist and struggle. But once again, Regal can take it if he wants it. He can shoot, snap, marry you over without hurting you. He can shoot, single leg you, do all those things, and all you got to do is just go along with it and wrestle. I honestly can't explain in so many words or really put the picture in people's head about how easy it is to wrestle William Regal. And I have to assume Finlay, outside of gouging your nose and giving you those forearms like right here, it's, you know, he's definitely a worker that has a lot more of a dance element to working him, but he can still be rough. I mean, don't get me wrong. You've seen him and Fit in that match in WCW, the Junkyard match, and then just some random Saturday night and Nitro matches was like, oh my God. Not to mention, they did a pay-per-view where I think Regal got his nose busted open on that from one of those forearms to the face.
I've got news for you. According to this, you wrestled Regal numerous times in singles matches. You did an entire loop in Canada with him in 2004, and even wrestled him on an international version of Sunday Night Heat.
You know what? Didn't we watch the Sunday Night Heat one? Or I talked about that?
No, it was international version only, so it'll be really hard to get.
No,
I know someone who can
somewhere.
ask.
I did that. I did something about, it was about a move on the Wrestling Analysis channel. I think I found that match. So today, CTE, you got me.
So British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Worcester, Massachusetts. Yeah.
I probably wanted to forget the mysterious blue check that came from Canada.
This is just a month or two before Unforgiven as well, so 2004. So maybe that's just an entire era that you're forgetting.
So any momentum
willfully.
or feeling good that I had with that series of matches, it was about to end, right?
Yeah. Can I ask you this as well? And I imagine this with the European guys once again, there's very little communication that needs to be made. Is Regal a talker? You should go here, you should go there, or does he just move you and it's obvious and there's no words need to be exchanged?
Like I said, in the match I recall, and those matches that you reminded me of, I don't, and that might be why I forgot them, because leading up to Unforgiven, it was like a memory wipe, like the Men in Black, but it didn't memory wipe Unforgiven, just all the good stuff. But yeah, he's one of those people, I don't recall maybe, hey, are you okay? Move, go to the corner, like little one word or like short sentence calls. But most times it wouldn't be like, then we're going to go here, then we're going to go here, then we're going to, it was just your basic, maybe we'll open if we have to jumpstart, which we never did. That would be communicated before the match. Heat spot, obviously, and then maybe something to cause the comeback. And then it would just be there for me. And then it's just, my assumption is it ended with the Regal stretch and I tapped. So pretty easy.
I wanted to mention this as well because he made a little cameo on Raw this Monday, just saying one word, War Games, just to bring it back like in the old NXT days, I guess. So, and tell you what, he got such an ovation as well. Like, people don't forget.
People don't forget, but then again, why are they not utilizing him on the main roster more? Because Regal can get anything over. Like, in other words, they put Regal in similar spot. You talk about Unforgiven and other spots, like drinking the pee from Jericho, doing things, and he got it over, and it didn't ever really hurt him when he was thrown in those comedy roles.
Next question. Stephen Hamrick asks, I recently saw The Undertaker talking about working hurt. That 90s era seemed like there was a lot of, for lack of a better word, a machismo you pronounce, backstage. Was it common for people to cover up their injuries, play them off, or would they openly talk about it when putting the match together? Like, hey man, my shoulder is a little messed up today, can we not do XYZ?
That's an excellent question. Yes, we would definitely not let the office know, especially, or any of the trainers or anybody to a certain point. I'm sure that still goes on today because you will lose your spot in most cases. Not as much today, I think, because they do bring people back. Like Rhea Ripley just came back Monday, and she's essentially kind of in the same spot, not at the height that she was at, but she's still figured in. But back then, out of sight, out of mind. Somebody else is going to take that spot. And in most cases, you are right to hide those injuries, to hide the discomfort. But I think the biggest thing would be based on the WrestleMania 1, we talked about Paul Orndorff. He would not. He was making the most amount of money working Hogan. He should have took time off, maybe got surgery, and ended up with that arm being completely atrophied, which affected him for the rest of his career. But he knew if I took off, they're going to plug somebody in with Hogan. This is the most amount of money I ever made, and he kept it a secret. And of course, the arm started to say, you can't keep it a secret forever, and it caused irreparable damage. But yeah, all the time. And you know, the promoter and the Johnny, hey, you got a job for life. No, you don't. The reality is that someone is there waiting to take your spot all the time, and the office is willing to do that. The business moves with or without you, no matter what. And you just got to take a calculated risk. Now, this day and age, unfortunately, fortunately, they do have concussion protocol, and they do kind of like keep the wrestlers out of the ring much more. But then again, the wrestlers also still have the mentality that I need to hide this because I'm making money. And the office does, how should I say, when guys are hurt, now with the Ridge Holland thing, just on an off-topic thing, now you got to worry about being released while you're hurt. That's a new thing to get worried about. So I think we're going to get another trend of people hiding those injuries. But it happens. But even in the NFL, I don't know if European football has concussion protocol with the blue tent. They take the guy out, check him. They have people lying all the time on the sidelines. There used to be something on the sidelines in the NFL where they would ask the quarterback, say, you got a big hit, looks like you got a concussion. One of the other players be standing behind her, the coach. How many fingers am I holding up? The coach or the player? That's why recently there was a New York Giant thing where Jackson Dart, the quarterback, went into the 10, and one of the running backs, Scattlebur, I think his name is, went in there and he got fined $15,000 because he would have been able to kind of like, Iggy, as we would say, or signal the quarterback, hey, he give these answers, and that way you can get back on the field. So it's still happening.
I think the Tyson Tomko interview that I must have got some years ago when I was doing research for something else, and he said, well, why didn't you, or the interview said, why didn't you take time off for, these injuries? And it said, well, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. But instead of taking time off, what he did was medicate himself to a point he became an addict and became a criminal because of it for a time as well. So that's kind of the other unintended consequences, apart from the fact that you could be damaging your career by disappearing for a while and the business moving on, is that you could be causing yourself irreparable damage to your health as well.
Yeah, but it's a calculated risk that every athlete, even entertainers, I'm sure there's movie stars, TV stars, especially in the action genre, that have been injured and have to do other things. The thing with that is, and I know from the past few years of my back stuff with spine infection and now herniated disc and trying to take care of that, back pain and neck pain are no joke. Like, they are completely debilitating to the point. And what do you need more than anything when you're a pro wrestler? Your spine. You need to take bumps. You need to move around and do stuff like that. So it's real easy to get addicted to those kinds of painkillers, medication, other things that you need. And of course, to heal, get on steroids, growth hormone, all that stuff. I'm lucky that I've had these debilitating things happen to me post-career. Because during my career, I'd probably take time off because I wouldn't be popping. I know that's not the solution. So I'd probably get fired. I would have been right there with Test and Ridge Holland getting released during that time.
What was the worst injury you had that you never took time off for?
Well, the initial neck injury from the guardrail, which was the origin of the stinger that I got, was the cane to the back of the neck recently before that, or not too long before that, May 1997, when the guardrails dropped on my neck. I didn't take time off, so it turned in from one herniated disc to two and a broken bone during the course of those 5 or 7 months, and then eventually having to get the surgery. I didn't want to take any time off after the Chris Masters thing, but they protected me from myself. I needed 6 to 8 weeks for my face and my nose and my teeth to get taken care of and heal up. But I knew I was on the week-to-week thing then for years. So I was just trying to come back or not be away. But no, I mean, all the injuries I've ever had have been, thank God, just nagging things that kind of popped up here and there. The neck injury was something that after ECW, thank God, never really came back, although I got a pretty bad stinger during the Heidenreich electric chair spot where he dropped me on my head. I really couldn't. That was the same as the guardrail. I couldn't feel my extremities for a few minutes. It was scary. But there's been nothing, thank God, after the big ones. I wish I was injured before Unforgiven. Keep bringing that up.
What kind of injuries, I mean, because we know, we'll talk about the 90s and 2000s, but what kind of injuries would wrestlers generally tell the office about? So, for the most part, I imagine wouldn't be talking about concussions back in the day, or at least in the early 2000s, and especially the 90s. But in my mind, I'm thinking like torn muscles would just be too hard to work around. But
Usually,
yeah.
even if you tore, like, say you tore your bicep, tricep, other things, they probably would try to hide it unless it was so rolled up and purple, kind of like Cody's pec. The knees or the leg or the lower body is usually the one, because you can't walk, you can't run. It's apparent you're hobbling around. That's usually like torn ACLs and other kinds of knee injuries. That's when I've seen them getting surgery and doing whatever. But we can't all be Bret Hart and wheeled out from knee surgery. You know what I mean? That he got over during that time, but not everybody is afforded that kind of, how should I say, grace to still be on TV, cut promos, and actually get more over like that. But that's the shame about the business, because you could have people appearing and doing different moments and things, pre-tapes, vignettes and things to keep them in the mix and also fill your show out, not having 6 people just talking in the ring every episode. So, but the business, it doesn't work like that. Not everybody can have those types of creative outlets to keep themselves over and relevant.
You've just come up with another list thing. I'm just writing it down.
Oh, God.
I can't help it now. I'm just getting ridiculous. Like the amount of ideas I'm having at the moment. Okay, then we'll move on. Brandon Cavallaro says, remember the Matt Hardy Edge Lita story? Do you think it was unethical for WWE to run with that story? Do you want to... were you with the Raw brand at that time when that was all kicking off?
I'm actually not quite sure. What year was that?
2005. But I think Matt found out, I guess, April 2005, something like that.
I think I was on SmackDown because 2004, around that time, I think I was doing, was that during the JBL meanie thing, the BWO stuff, or was that a little bit later? I know I was doing Velocity right around that time. Maybe that was the Bob Holly.
Yeah, so you left Raw. I mean, you obviously disappeared for a couple of months for no good reason. You were wrestling Chris Masters up until... Chris Masters up until about the end of May 2005. So the initial news, you would have still been on the Raw brand. And I guess... Okay, the first question would be, did you ever notice Edge and Lita, or let's not... We could use their real names, I guess. Adam and Amy. I've tried to think of a real name. Did you ever see them getting a bit close to each other?
No, never saw anything like that. I know that, like, basically it was something like, can you believe they're doing that? And of course, Matt got released and then kind of came back, and that famous thing when they were pulling him away, he was telling everybody to watch ROH, and it was kind of taboo to say that stuff. Then they turned it into what it was. But I think as the boys looking at the push and everything, you knew for sure that Evil was going to win, that Edge was going to go over, but they gave Matt his job back. Matt was figured back in. But of course, we were all, and I was a friend of Matt's. Obviously, I was a friend of the Hardys at that time to an extent, not to the point where I was knowing or he was talking to me, like, can you believe this is going on? But friendly enough to say, man, this looks like Matt's going to come back, put Edge and Lita over, and then they're going to re-release him. That was my guess, but he stayed there for a long time after that.
Yeah, he is. Like with the MVP thing, I seem to remember they were feuding.
Yeah, also he's ECW
ages.
champion too. He didn't go anywhere from that point on. Now, he never kind of recaptured where he was in the Mattitude days with Shannon Moore and Crash and all this stuff going on. But he didn't really, he kind of stayed relevant to a certain point in the middle until basically the Broken Hardy stuff came out in TNA.
Do you remember why Matt was fired?
I do not.
He apparently found out what was going on, and he went on like some massive internet ramble about it, about the whole thing. And WWE fired him over it. That's why. Because he found out and was upset about it, and somehow he loses his job, and as the innocent victim in all this. I mean, it's not the first time, obviously.
Well, it's probably my clue is that when he even came back to do that feud, and it had a lot of steam because it was real, but you knew from that he got fired that you're still going to pick Edge over Matt Hardy in this way, and of course this made Edge an even bigger star somehow. So Evil and whatever else you want to call it got rewarded, and Adam he never became. He just never came back from that, or not come back, but he never regressed. He was shooting right for the stars after that. So I guess he really, maybe that was the Vince speech I was getting based off of that kind of stuff.
So I'll go to the original question once again. Try not to laugh though with all that. Was it unethical, or is there any such thing as ethics in pro wrestling?
There's no such thing. There's no such thing. What I would give them now, obviously, you're going to hire Matt back with the promise that he's okay with this, right? You're talking to Edge, you're talking to Lita, and you're talking to Matt.
Yeah, but maybe he wasn't okay with it. Maybe he wasn't okay with it, but he was so desperate for a job that he had to be.
No. I mean, okay with the fact I got to do this. I mean, obviously, he's going to. You're not going to get a no from him at that point because it's still really good money to come back. He has a job. What could he do? I don't know. He's between a rock and a hard place. He doesn't have his girlfriend anymore. One of his best friends has betrayed him, and now you're asked to work with him. That's an incredibly tough spot. So, and what I've looked at with their matches that they had and the things they had going on, they still stayed really professional throughout the whole thing. So there was some kind of a test, I'm sure, on Matt Hardy to see what he would do. I'm sure there's a little bit of that billionaire puppeteer thing to say, I'm entertained by this, by Vince and everybody in the office, to see what would happen.
Here's a question I just thought of, because Adam, I'll use the real names because this isn't the wrestling thing, but Adam, well, I'm going to have to now, wasn't he married to Val Venus's sister? Did you ever talk to Val about this or hear what he had to say?
No. And this was a pretty tight crew, by the way. You're talking about the Canadians, Val, Edge, Christian, Jericho, people like that. No, I stayed so far away from that. Now I observed it. Like if they were doing something, I seen how they would react. Now when they came back from the initial thing, from when he jumped them, said, watch ROH, and the security pulled them off, they were very like, hey, thank you. But it was very matter of fact. Like, I can't wait to get away from you, which can you blame Matt? Hey, I'm coming back, making money, doing this. And then basically they did the limo thing where Vince hired him back. So Vince was doing the Triple H thing where he came out of the limo. Vince was in the ring and basically announced the return of Matt Hardy, or that Matt Hardy was going to be Edge's opponent.
I remember the Ring of Honor thing, right? And there was one thing that bugged me about it. And you'll appreciate this as like a tiny little detail. When he was being dragged away by security, right? And he goes, I'll see you at Ring of Honor. They took him through the entrance and not like the side of the ramp.
That's true.
And that's the one bit I remember thinking, it's gone into pro wrestling. Because they wouldn't have taken him through Gorilla.
Yeah, I would have took him out even through the crowd, up the stairs through the concourse, not even side ramp, nowhere near where people would come out. Like a fan, you would take them maybe side ramp, but most times if they're in the crowd, you're taking them up through the concourse and out the exit. Yeah, I felt for Matt. I mean, like I said, I don't have any firsthand information or personal opinion about the whole thing, except it is what it is. And they both ended up at least still having a career, especially Matt was the one I was worried about, being basically relegated or having to go to ROH, TNA. Wouldn't have been a bad thing for Matt. He would have got really, really over. And when was Jeff in TNA? When did he go there?
Like
for that,
three different times. I think he went
but
like
the
2003.
first time, what year was
2003,
that?
2004. He was fired, I think, in 2003.
So you think that might have been a good reunion for the Hardys. So maybe Matt was tempted by that. I don't know how many. I know that Jeff had the vignettes. He wrestled AJ, wrestled a couple other people. And then he was back in TNA when I was there, when the Monday Night thing happened. That's when he came back, I believe, on top of that big right cage that he eventually got to the top of, right?
Yeah. Man, how could you ask people to climb out that hole in the top when, we've wrestled like a 15, 20 minute
climb
match?
out. The Homicide too, right? Everybody was having trouble.
Was it Homicide who was the one who's dying halfway through the hole and he couldn't get himself up?
Trying to get over that thing.
Jeff would be gone 2003, and then he'd go TNA 2004 until he returned to WWE in 2006. The one thing, just to add on to this, is do you know who, weirdly, the ultimate loser in all this was kind of Lita? Because she was only really with Edge for a year longer, and it was a great double act. But the way that they wrote her out of TV, they made her the harlot, basically. and Edge not so much. But she seemed to be like the one who was the total homewrecker kind of thing. And Edge didn't get the same amount of criticism. And then she'd retire, like maybe the end of 2006, I think. And they basically humiliated her on the way out.
That's when they did her really, really wrong on the way out with the Crime Time guys selling all her clothes and stuff, like embarrassing her on the way out.
Yeah. And there's Trish, winning with a sharpshooter in Toronto, like a few months later for her retirement match.
Them's the rules, I guess.
Them's the rules.
Whatever.
The Fig Game Hunt writes in and says, did you travel with
we
Kane?
We can ask him about the action figures.
Yeah. Yes, the Fig Game Hunt. Write in. I don't know where you can write in, but write in. We've not figured that out yet. We realise neither of us have P.O. boxes. Actually, because we're talking about the figure thing, and I wrote this and I forgot to put it at the beginning of the show, if you happen to have, or could even lend us, or Stevie specifically, the TNA Stevie Richards action figure, because we want to do another episode. Sorry, we want to do an episode on the figures, and we want Stevie to have them all to actually review and look at, tactile in person kind of thing. But we found on eBay or Stevie found on eBay, was it a boxed version or was it loose? $150.
It was boxed, $144 or something, but there was also loose versions that were pretty expensive, and I'm not worth that money.
Dude, I'll buy it for you.
No, it's fine.
Okay. If someone can send a loose Dr. Stevie from TNA, if anyone happens to have one, please would be more than appreciative, and I don't know what else we can do to thank you. On-air credit and all that kind of thing, and we'll send it you back,
I have to contact that Wrestling Universe. I was supposed to do a signing for them a long time ago. It didn't really work out, but that's usually that place in New York has all the figures. It might be something. I'll have to reach out. You know who else I can reach out to?
Okay.
Probably Cardona and Myers. Matt Cardona and Brian Myers have every action figure on the planet.
Yeah, but the thing is, they'll have them boxed as well for the most part, and I think you have to have them loose so you can see, the articulation.
No, but I mean,
and
they might
detail.
know somebody that has them, or they might have a connection with some wrestling figure sellers.
Okay. I mean, I'm presuming you've got contact information for them.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them and see.
Yeah,
they may not get back to me. I love you, Matt. I love you, Brian. There you go. Now I put you over. Now get back to me.
Next question. The Fig Game Hunt says, did you travel with Kane when he unmasked in 2003? And what was his routine with the weird little hair thing he had going on? There's a famous photo out there of you shaving his head at one point. Did he grow it out for the week and trim up for Do what?
He didn't do mine. I was the barber. I was the new barber in WWE.
Did Kane grow it out for the week and then trim up for TV, then shave it back off and repeat the process?
It all depends. It depends on how fast it was growing back. And I did a lot of that shaving for him, whether it was on a house show. Now, usually on the house shows, you don't wear your best stuff. It's kind of like the matches, trying to get through them and not do anything super dangerous. But also, a lot of guys wouldn't bring their jackets or the full gear on house shows. And that goes for Glenn with the shaved head. It would obviously have some stubble. But by Monday, if he wasn't getting it done in the makeup chair, that photo was basically on repeat where I was shaving his head. I know I have that picture, Chris. So if you want to B-roll that picture of me shaving Glenn's head, we could put it up as a YouTube post as well. But yeah, the routine was just basically take the electric shaver or whatever it was and just shave his head. Took a few seconds. I remember when I think it was the Garden. It was definitely the match where he lost and Rob came in the ring. He attacked Rob and pulled the mask off. Remember with all the black, and he had the weird Festus haircut from, remember Festus with that guy?
Do you know what, right? Just because you mentioned that, it's like, hey, that's Thingy Gordy's son. Bam Bam Terry Gordy's son. I always thought it was Festus. I didn't think it was the guy that was like a foot shorter.
No, he looked like Luke Gallows looks more like Terry Gordy's son than Terry Gordy's son.
Yeah.
Ray Gordy. Yeah, I forget.
Yeah,
Cletus.
Slam Master J.
Cletus and Festus? What was his name?
I can't remember what his name is. He's going to bug me now.
Biscuits and Gravy was the song. I remember that. So anyway, I remember when Glenn, the day it happened, Glenn had the mask with the wig on. And I remember saying, his hair looks weird. And he had the mask on at like 1 or 2 p.m. So I was like, what's up with this? It was so weird. And then I saw the match, like he gets unmasked, and I was like, he's wearing a mask all day. I wonder what there was pre-tapes, there was things going on. I found it strange. So I didn't know when he tore it off that he had shaved his head and had that weird haircut. And he ended up, choke slamming Rob and then doing the pyro thing. I believe that was Madison Square Garden.
It was Jesse and Festus, by the way. Man, I hated that as a fan. I just thought, boy, have you just killed Kane. And I was the biggest Kane fan in the entire world. And I was slowly getting less of a Kane fan because they kept changing him and kept giving him reduced roles. And at that point, he was a tag team dude with like Hurricane Helms and Rob Van Dam. And I think he'd been injured for months beforehand. And then he came back as a tag team guy with that weird outfit. But why did they make him do this? Because were you traveling with him at the time, actually?
Yeah, I was traveling with him. But I don't know. And my assumption, it probably came up. My assumption is besides, I don't know, maybe just a new coat of paint. Glenn did he did the best work that you would expect somebody not to be able to do after wearing a mask for so long. Because with the mask, he could still convey emotion. But think about how you get into a point where nobody's seeing your actual face. And you have to break that habit unless he always made the face just to stay true to the emotion, even though he's doing head tilts and stuff like that. But think about how most people get unmasked and they have to adjust to being angry, emotional, showing. And Glenn's always been excellent. He's actually an excellent actor. And that you might think See No Evil wasn't a great horror movie or whatever. But my theory is, mentioning that, maybe he was in line for the movie and the part that he was supposed to play didn't involve the mask, but they want him to look like Jason from Friday the 13th or a kind of an ode to that, because he kind of had that Jason Voorhees type look to him after he got unmasked.
I thought that film was a couple of years later. Like, wasn't that 2006 when they were doing the May
19th with the phony Kane, right?
Yeah, I thought, with the phony Kane, but I thought See No Evil. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would have been 2006.
Okay. So that lends more to the theory that they were just trying to change up the Kane character. And you know what? He did a lot of great work. And you mentioned Lita. What about the whole story with Lita?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of great work that he did. The mask wasn't defining him. He defined the mask. So, and then, you fast forward. Him unmasked is nowhere near as bad as corporate Kane. Can we agree on that?
Yes, we can. I think we should
Except
do
for
like a list of
the concession stand. That was fun.
Yeah,
where he worked the concession stand.
Kane is almost, and he shouldn't have been, but he's almost turned into a utility player. He can go anywhere and be fitted in with everything. But like, as soon as he was unmasked, in fairness, it was a lot better than sensitive Kane hanging about backstage with Terry Runnels. Do you remember that? There were so many weird odd couples with Kane.
Tori was his girlfriend.
That was great. That was great. And then X-Pac. The only problem is that they kept making X-Pac win. And it was so unbelievable. And I think that's where the X-Pac heat came from. Because you could tell that the machine was pushing him too hard. Over Kane, of all people, who was like,
oh man, I haven't heard X-Pac heat in a while.
It was a real thing. I swear it was a real thing. I think when you interview him, it's like, hey, it just sounds like they were booing me. But man, as a fan, I didn't want to see him on my screen. And that's amazing because he's a really good talent. But I think they just overpushed him.
He's so underrated. He's a guy that deserves like a career retrospective for everything he has gone through and how he reinvented himself. That whole match with Razor that made him. And then, of course, the Bret Hart match was like, people call that the perfect match. That Raw match that he had.
Patreon.
Should watch it all. Just call it patreon.com/Bret Hart fans. How's that? But yeah, Glenn is I think Glenn is one of the most underrated, not only workers, but athletes and entertainers that have ever existed in wrestling. He really has never gotten like that real run with the world title, that real run as a top guy. Like you said, he's a utility player that gets plugged into this up here, then he can come back down here, Then he can be a tag team wrestler over here. Then he can have a blood feud over here. Then he can wrestle a debuting person and get them over. He's everything. He's literally the perfect professional wrestler.
I mean, would you say that he got Shane McMahon over as a legitimate threat? Because I remember afterwards he set fire to Jim Ross, and then I think he beat Rob Van Dam at SummerSlam, and then he was feuding with Shane McMahon for months afterwards as well.
Let's not forget about him hooking up jumper cables to his crotch.
Course. How could we not?
Well, I've trained with Shane. He's a viable threat without Glenn needing to give him any more. He was a threat to anybody in the ring with him.
Didn't Kane absolutely smash him in one of those matches as a receipt? Like, absolutely stoved his head in with a punch or something. I
think everybody who has wrestled Shane McMahon has given him multiple receipts. Jericho, Kane. I'm convinced Kurt Angle was just like getting stiff and said, "You're going through this class, buddy. I don't care."
Okay, there's two more things we've got to talk about.
If Steve Blackman receded him, he wouldn't be able to even climb up to the top of the box truss. That's a receipt nobody wants.
I tell you what, even I don't know how many times they tested that for safety or whatever, but I don't care if it was 1,000, and I'd seen 1,000 people do it. I wouldn't do that.
Oh, falling backwards off the top of the Titantron through a crash pad?
Yeah, on like a big waterbed thing, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because guess what you're still doing? You're taking an ST plunge behind you, and you don't know if you fall and just let it go, or if you think you have to jump out and then you're out by the crowd and the guardrail. Yeah, I wouldn't do it either. Well, for enough money, maybe. Let me think about that.
What was the eye makeup supposed to look like?
Well, I think that was just no, but the eye makeup. Oh, you mean after he got unmasked?
Yeah, when he got masked, because he had this like weird black thing where he just looked like he'd, swept his chimney.
But that was like the Batman thing. Batman wore the makeup under the mask. It gives.
No, it's supposed to be Burns. It was supposed to be Burns, and then he wrestled for 15 minutes, whatever it was, with Triple H, and Triple H won, and it smudged all the makeup.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Triple H won?
Would you believe?
Come on, man. I think it did turn into, I don't remember that, like it has to be burns or charred marks, but he always had the thing where it looked like he hadn't slept in a month. Like he didn't get enough sleep. Remember that makeup, the purple makeup, or like the dark circles under his eyes?
I'm going to send you the image now so you can see it.
Okay.
It's terrible. So you don't know, like what it was meant to look like before it all got smudged up. But honestly, he looked like looked into an exhaust pipe and he went.
The old Roadrunner.
Yeah, I'm sending this to you now.
Messaging it to me.
Oh, I'm messaging it to you right now.
Got it.
Here you go. Right, I've WhatsApped. So live reaction, everybody, to Kane's face paint for the day, and then they just gave up on it.
I have to test. I have to disagree with the theory to a certain extent. You know why? Because he rubbed the eye makeup to cover up the eye holes in the mask to give that Batman look. So the eyes came out. I don't know. I don't know if they were trying to simulate burns and didn't take into account. That's not WWE. They have way too much attention to detail to think that they would know that would run, but at the same time, the makeup, the eye paint or whatever. But no, I don't think they were trying to simulate burns every single time.
Katie Vick. Did Glenn ever chat to you?
Because it was an pre-tape as well. Triple H.
Wonderful. Geez. There's loads of ones with Triple H in. What's even worse is like his really forced laugh after the Katie Vick segment had aired. And he's got this he feels like he's had a chest infection for a month. He's got like doing this weird, horrible laugh, this phony laugh, and then the next week they had the doll out and stuff. Do you know, the underwear, right, of Katie Vick the doll, they sold it on the auction site afterwards.
Oh, really?
And it was bought by the people at WrestleCrap.
Oh, I do remember the WrestleCrap article where they bought it. I remember stuff. That stupid that was part of the stupid stuff I can't believe they made it or something, and they had all these toys they used to put up.
It's weird because, like, on WrestleCrap, the image that they use for the worst merchandise is the one that I submitted, like 20 odd years ago, and it was the porcelain baby Steve Austin doll. And they still use that one of all things.
Oh my God.
But yeah, what was your reaction to the original Katie Vick in the funeral home thing? And also, like, beforehand, there was the emotional interview, and I think actually Terry Rawns might have been part of that, where he talks about how he killed said doll.
Yeah, drinking and driving. They had everything, didn't they?
Yeah.
In that sit-down interview.
That was amazing. Yeah, right, okay, what was your reaction to the main funeral home thing? I screwed your brains out. Enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the
Turkey
funeral.
likes that.
Turkey, I don't know for the man. I remember sitting there, and when they aired it, somebody turned around and said, "Oh, that's Vince's idea." And I went, "Sounds about right." That was totally, and even Triple H kind of like said, "Oh, I didn't really want to do it, but it was the boss's idea." And he was like, Vince was like a giddy little schoolgirl. He was like Katie Vick, like in that pre-tape from what I remember. Not that I was there, but what they said was he was so excited. Like this was top notch. This was going to be like, this is going to be like the moments like ESPN's going to cover it or something.
Yeah, I think all they did was cost themselves sponsors, and from that week onwards, the ratings dropped like noticeably and never recovered. Like that was the line in the sand for a lot of fans that said, "I'm never watching wrestling again or WWE again."
He probably blamed it on Stevie Night Heat.
They could well have done. I'm wondering if I'd be interested to hear Vince Russo's thoughts on this, because they apparently around this time was trying to get back to the shock content of the Attitude Era. I'm wondering if even Vince Russo would have watched that and gone, "I would have never put that on television in a million years."
I'll ask him. I asked him about the Roddy Piper promo when we do part 2 about the Russo Piper TNA thing. So he's going to give me a kind of a synopsis. But there's another question about the Katie Vick. Will you have ever done Katie Vick? So I think Russo has cameos. So if you want to ask him, check out his cameo.
I've got his email. I'll just message him.
Oh, I meant for the fans.
Oh, right, yeah,
the
fans
you.
can do that.
I'm not telling you to get a cameo.
All right, then. I thought you were. Okay, right, let's move on. We've got a few more questions. Right, so C. Montalvo. What are your thoughts on Taker's bigger role in WWE lately? I have a feel there's a lot of Undertaker questions here. I have a feeling he's preferred by TKO as the face of the company versus Triple H, and ultimately being groomed to take over. It would not surprise me if Taker is also the choice by the Saudis, and hence TKO getting behind it. When you add The Rock to the situation, then it makes it more plausible, since everyone back in the day respected Taker. Well, Turkey does like it when Undertaker sits next to him.
And Turkey might like it when Taker runs WWE. Who knows? That's an interesting question. I don't know, because from an experience standpoint, how many years, if not a decade or more, was Vince McMahon grooming Triple H to be in power? He was already in the office. He was an executive for years. He was on creative with Stephanie. I don't know. Taker would be another family member to Vince. If Vince was in there, I believe Taker would be in line to be right up there and running with Triple H. Right now, it does look like Triple H, Shawn, and Taker are the three, like he said, executive decision, where he said that facetiously as a joke, or there's a little bit of truth in that. Taker is probably the most influential person outside of Triple H running the company right now. And I would have to say, anytime, like even when Vince went to Saudi Arabia, who was right next to him? Taker. So that's not out of the question. That is actually an excellent question. I can see Taker gaining power, but if we're talking about it, like we mentioned before, Hunter puts himself in everything. Hunter's trying to make himself indispensable to not be fired by TKO or the Saudis. But if the day did come where Triple H did get moved on from, if the company moved on from Triple H, I could definitely see Taker taking that chief content officer, chief operating officer type of role. But right now, he's an ambassador to the company and also figured in from a media standpoint. And he might have the comfort level of, I have responsibilities, but the whole thing doesn't kind of lie on me. You're shaking your head.
No, there's more. There's more.
There's more.
Because he's very involved in AAA now. So he's already involved in some booking. He's creeping up.
Is he booking AAA for sure?
He is. Now, we don't know the word booking specifically. I think the exact words were given were highly influential in the direction of AAA. So basically, they're probably booking the at least Americanized version of AAA, where they get the more WWE stars.
Is he
on it.
going
Not like
to the shows
the
in
day-to-day.
Mexico, or is he booking from home? Is he a consultant?
No, I
Hopefully.
think he's going to the shows. I'm quite sure he's actually going to. He's going to the major shows that WWE promotes, because obviously AAA is its own touring thing. But then, every 2 or 3 months, AAA has like a bigger show that WWE promotes, sometimes in the States, sometimes Mexico. And Dominic Mysterio is the current champion. So, but yeah, supposedly Undertaker is more influential behind the scenes, at least there. And I'm wondering if that's just a warm-up before he goes to WWE, or maybe he goes to NXT with Shawn. Who knows?
So you think there's a way, even though Vince isn't involved, that he's being groomed to start building up power in an executive level. Now, he lives in Texas, so the trip to Mexico is not that big of a deal to go back and forth. So logistically, it's not that bad. But yeah, that's very, very interesting. I don't see anybody else, to be honest with you, I don't see anybody else that has been as trusted and loyal as Taker. It's not the worst choice in the world, because there's nobody else in line outside of a non-wrestling person to run that. You'd have to bring in a Hollywood person, like Ari Emanuel would have to bring in somebody as a producer or somebody, but there's all these other things that you have to understand pro wrestling, even though it's been completely changed. And we're going to get to an article where Mark Shapiro and TKO are really trying to change it, but external eye roll by James off camera. But
It's Undertaker style eye roll, that one.
yeah, I saw all the whites just like in the Survivor Series before that dreaded tombstone to Hogan. It got him, brother. But
My wife and family.
I mean, there's a short list of people that can understand the wrestling business and currently getting groomed outside of the actual wrestling and the actual business part of it, at least creatively. So once again, are we going to get this hot potato of, will Undertaker have a year to two of a honeymoon phase and then be in the same spot as Triple H?
Well, there's, internally speaking, because Cody made mention of this recently, that it was Cody Rhodes. He said, well, obviously I'm going to be the person to take over creative when Triple H is done. And then apparently Seth Rollins had interest, CM Punk has got interest. Then there's Bruce Pritchard, there's Paul Heyman. I think there's quite a few people internally who would maybe even successfully take over Triple H when all is said and done. So we'll talk about this once again in the John Cena segment, but boy, is Triple H making everything about himself even more and more and more. It's not just WrestleMania, it's your random Raws now.
Could I just make this point though? Because I'm trying to think in a way of corporate America, of sitting in a meeting with Netflix, with USA, with executives in the real world, not somebody that's going to mark out. And obviously you see Taker walk in, everybody knows who Taker is. He's almost 7 feet tall. He's larger than life. But I believe the way he speaks sometimes in regular talk, the Paul Heymans and the Bruce Pritchards and the Michael Hayes still have a twinge of Carney when they talk. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound quite as professional. Hunter fits into that because Hunter speaks, you might think monotone, corporate speak, whatever it might be. We make fun of Synergy and Flywheel from Vince when he did that interview with Ari Emanuel, but it's almost a very relaxed, understated tone where you're not trying to play a P.T. Barnum type character. I still see Paul Heyman and Bruce Pritchard and Michael Hayes in that realm. I see if Seth Rollins or CM Punk are sitting across from you, I can see Cody. Cody has the look, the presentation, but they still might be like, this dude has bleached blonde hair with dark eyebrows.
He's got an arm tattoo on his neck.
He's a goof. This is them, not me. Cody has a great mind. I'm not saying Punk, Seth, they have creative abilities, but you have to sit across from somebody and say, we can do business together. Triple H is like that. I believe Taker can be like that. But I don't believe the other people. they've been exposed as carnies way too much. Triple H is being exposed right now to a certain point, but he can still sit across on the mentorship of Vince McMahon of how to conduct these meetings. In other words, Taker would have to be sitting in the meetings, shadowing Triple H to a point, and would Triple H see that as a threat when Taker is in every meeting with him?
I also wrote this down because, as far as I can tell, I'm sure Triple H and The Rock, or Paul and Dwayne, in that sense, because it's right to use their real names in this situation, have never particularly gotten along ever. I'm sure they get along professionally, but I'm sure they're not best friends or anything like that. I mean, this goes all the way back to 96, 97, where Shawn and Triple H tried to get The Rock fired because they saw him as a threat. And I'm wondering if, because The Rock is above Triple H, is he playing the long game? Is he waiting for Triple H or Paul Levesque to foul up in some major way so they can justify replacing him?
Oh, this definitely feels like a lie hop. Let it happen on purpose. This is definitely something where The Rock is like I think you brought it up, and I even think Russo and Ben brought it up on their show, where he said, let Triple H be a mark for himself, let him put himself in everything, let him try to think he's indispensable, and we'll see. Oh, you're all over every show, and the ratings have never been lower. The interest has never been lower. People are complaining about the product. Of course, it has to do with ticket prices. We'll get to that. But yeah, you're definitely doing everything wrong. You're the face of this company right now, so it all relies on you. That can't be an accident that Rock has been so far away from this product and letting Triple H be so entrenched in the product. To where literally when you say WWE, what's the first name you think of? Not Roman Reigns, not Cody Rhodes, not CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Triple H. You say Triple H, Undertaker, and then
Shawn.
TKO, and then somewhere down the line you start talking about the people on the show. It's really weird, but I think he's being set up to fail, 100%.
Next question from Pringles Can John. What was the story behind the Kane match you had with Tommy Dreamer and East Rutherford? I was a kid in the crowd and a huge ECW fan. I couldn't believe it was happening. It felt so random, but was really good. Is this something that you brought up or hinted at before on the show? Have you not?
I hint about the Singapore Kane match or what they were doing with Dreamer and myself at that particular point in time.
No, the fact that he just smashed his head in with the cane.
No, he gave me 13 staples. I had a flap after he hit me with that in the first Kane match. He hit it baseball swing style, and I remember, I'll go into that. We'll talk about the match first. This was a super interesting time. I think they were trying to have guys go out there and just do things, whether they thought we were ECW guys, so have a Singapore Kane match. Then we had the Singapore Kane versus the chair. And this was strung together with some alternative storylines that kind of blended into this. I'll get to that in a second. We showed up that day. It was the Meadowlands. So obviously there's going to be an ECW style crowd or a Northeast crowd that would appreciate and remember this. And we were right. They were really into the match. But I think it was just like for us and other people at that point, there was some kind of trend going on of like, let's just go out there and see what you can do. Or send you guys out there, have a match. We'll say like the old days of let's you two guys have a match. We'll see if they have good chemistry and we'll turn it into a storyline. That's what it felt like. I don't know if they were just going out there to say, let the two ECW guys kill each other. Could have been a part of that. But then again, they wanted some action. They wanted violence. And they actually wanted Dreamer to get color. So that was something, even especially today, Dreamer got color from the Kane shot on the outside that I hit him with. And that was something, it was an office call. We didn't do that on our own. We didn't do like the Bret Austin thing where we kind of like, oh, we got hard way, brother. Got me, brother. No, this was everything that was fully endorsed by the office, by Vince, by the agent. This was all no surprises. They knew exactly what we were doing. Now we had to kind of map it out with spots, let them know, because we would go outside the ring, inside. What I really remember outside of what I'm going to get to after the match, what I remember was just the timing and how good Dreamer was at jumping off the second rope, taking that Stevie kick, bump off of that, and false finish. I think that, besides the actual cane shot Dreamer hit me with, was like the highlight for me of that match. Also, besides the fact that Lawler and Jim Ross started putting over, in a way, like Dreamer's work, the shape I was in, the work we were putting in. They weren't just laughing it off like two ECW goofs, which was pretty cool. Now, I remember getting hit with the cane, laying out, Dreamer thanking me, and then me going, man, I have pins and needles. You ever get pins and needles just from, with your elbows on the armrest or something? I had that in my head, and I was like, that's really weird. And it just kind of kept like that numbness and tingling and pins and needles all the way to the back. Went up to Dreamer backstage, hugged him. Vince gave us the thumbs up, which was very rare for any of us. And ECW, everybody gave us a little bit of like, clapping at the monitor, thanking everybody. And I didn't realize, like, I had like blood running down my shoulder and back. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Maybe I got, nicked with the cane in the shoulder or whatever. I thanked everybody. They asked us if we were all right. Yeah, I'm okay. I will go back to the shower, off the locker room, got undressed, went to the shower, started washing my hair, and looked down, and it was like a scene from Psycho where there was blood everywhere. There was blood rolling down here. It was just like, remember the scene from Rocky where it was like, if he dies, he dies, and it's like the Rocky with the blood. That was me, and I was like, that's odd. That's what I said out loud. And then I walk out and I say, and I'm still bleeding, and I got a white towel, and there's just blood all over me. And they look and I go, what's going on? And I go, I don't know. Somebody took a look because it was coming down the side of my head. And I was like, how does it look? And they were like, I was like, well, I don't know who it was, but they almost threw up. And then I went like this, and I went to the mirror, and all I saw was my skin flapping up and down. I was like, oh, that's really odd. So I walk into the trainer, and I said, I think I need like stitches or something. And Chris, the trainer, looked and he goes, dude, you don't need stitches. You need staples, or you need surgery or something. He goes, I can see, like, not your brain, but I can see like the flesh underneath that. And I was like, oh, that's extremely odd. And Dreamers comes in and goes, what are you doing, wacko? And I'm like, apparently I'm bleeding out. Okay, do you need a soda? Yeah, that sounds good. So they lay me down, they numb me up, and for some reason I felt that, even though pins and needles numb, and they gave me 13 staples on the side of my head, this side. And I remember I wrestled that Sunday, or was it a live heat? It was a live or a taped heat versus Goldust, and they showed the footage of that I got 13 staples, which was real. It wasn't a work. And then off of that, I had a Sunday night heat match against Spike Dudley where he wanted to give me the Dudley death drop, or the Dudley dog. He rolled through. There was a chair in the corner. I hit him with the chair because we had a match booked, Singapore Kane versus the chair in Tacoma, Washington, or Seattle, Washington. So like, there was something going on with WWE back then where they were trying to have like the ultimate continuity between everything. And it was so strange because you were motivated, you know what you were doing, they clued you in, somebody else was brought in, everything kind of tied into each other. So it was really that match at the Meadowlands kind of set off like continuity for everybody in WWE, even on the mid to lower end of the card. And a very, very exciting time.
You were right as well. It was a live heat. You were against Goldust, and it was the pay-per-view it was Vengeance
Detroit.
2002, Detroit, Michigan.
Was it Detroit?
In the Joe Louis Arena, which we just happened to watch Undertaker versus Hulk Hogan, Call My Wife and
Survivor
Kids
Series.
on Patreon.
Yeah.
There you go. Did you experience any hair loss from it? Or, like a big scar from the
Well,
slice?
I'm sure there's a scar if I ever, shave my head, because Turkey likes that. I'm going to end up, it's probably there, but it was definitely like flopped around. Because if you watch it, and if Chris can B-roll in like a slow-mo, the cane hits me and wraps around the back of my head. And it might not have been the force to, like, Dreamer swung for the fences, dude. He broke that cane in like 50 pieces. But when it did that, you got the cane with the pinching part of it. You know what I mean? That usually causes the welt in your back. Maybe it like when it came back, it tore while also cutting. It was pretty ugly. I mean, it was kind of a straight across into the back, like gash. But it was like an avulsion too, where maybe, I don't know how much, if there was skin on the cane or anything like that, but it was ugly. I wish I took a picture and then saved it.
And you didn't really feel the strike at the time?
Well, feel is kind of a relative word, because I saw stars, so I probably got a concussion, but didn't even realize it. But we were so hyped up and had so much adrenaline because everything in the match was clicking. So not many times do you even have like a real shine or set of heat or kind of a comeback during some gimmick match like this, but it felt like we had the foundation of a regular wrestling match, but then added in all that other stuff into it. And, you know, people chanting ECW and us having chips on our shoulders, and then the company kind of giving us the opportunity to succeed or fail. Man, it was a perfect storm. It may have been right up there with Stevie Night Heat. Those weeks were like my favorite time in WWE.
Next question. Brian Mead says, please tell stories about the times the ring did not show up.
Okay. So probably the best, there's multitude of times on the independents where the ring didn't show up. There's something with Doug and I think Nikolai Volkov wrestling on an amateur wrestling match on a high school
Do you know
gym.
who that was? That was Bobby Fulton, I think, and Nikolai Volkov.
That's right. I'm sorry. You got to remember that. And
did it ever happen in a major promotion other than the Indies, by the way?
Not that I can recall. It happened in Dothan, Alabama. I was supposed to wrestle. It happened twice, I believe, in Alabama. I wrestled Al Snow, and the ring didn't show up until probably like 9:30. Same thing happened, I think, in the same building. I wrestled David Young. I actually, both matches are on YouTube. The match with David Young was one of my favorites because it reminded me of an old, like, Bullet Bob Armstrong type match. It was probably the same building, Dothan, Alabama, where they did like a Continental taping or a house show. It reminded me of that presentation. But I remember, like, we were just about to have the matches without a ring and make them all like WCW, WCW Backstage Assault, like terrible. Yeah, like no ring is just like no fun at all. We didn't even have amateur wrestling match like Bobby Fulton and Nikolai. We'd have been wrestling on the floor. But I think there was one time too, I can't remember, it was the Northeast, where the ring didn't show up. So we had like a 2-hour Q&A with the fans. And just answer, like a shoot interview, with everybody just lined up in chairs being interviewed. So the ring doesn't show up. Like I'd say, like on the indies throughout my career, like we always held our breath. If the ring wasn't there when we got there, it's a 50-50 shot that the ring's showing up. And usually the ring wouldn't show up because the person who was bringing the ring was usually booked to wrestle on the show. And sometimes the promoter would say, I can't use you. And then the person wouldn't bring the ring.
Next question. I'm sorry, this was name unknown, so I don't know if I just
some side right there at the end of that.
I know, but it's like, man, it's like why would you just not just figure out who like is bringing the ring and then not fire them, or you make sure you use them?
That Carney thing deserves a lot. That's about as like Carney as you can get.
Do you know what? Just because I was thinking about this, did you ever appear on an independent show where Manny Fernandez tried to bully his way onto the card?
No, but my friend Donovan Morgan has been on those shows where Manny has done that. And I've heard the stories.
Anything you can add, or is that pretty much it?
No, pretty much it. You know, it's just, is he still around?
He's still alive, yeah.
Oh. Man, I loved him and Rick Rude as a tag team in NWA for some reason. That clicked with me. They were good.
Dude, he was like
They
the
were
hardest
tag
hitter in the
champs too,
NWA.
right?
Yeah, they were a tag team. And then Rick Rude just... I think that's one of those contentious things where he just left and went to the WWF. Rick Rude did. And they were tag team champions.
NWA missed out, and then when he went to WCW, and yeah, Rude was definitely underrated as well. I'll call him a world champion based on the previous question.
So, name unknown, unfortunately. I don't know if that's just no name left or I didn't copy it, so apologies if that's the case. Stevie, I've always been a big fan of the Headbangers, or as they were briefly known in their early days, the Spiders. Did you ever have any interactions of note with Chaz Mosh or Glenn Thrasher? I've always felt they get overlooked as a great team because it was an era of great teams. And, or do you maybe know if Chaz had some heat with management or something? He seemed to get stuck with some pretty bad characters and storylines as a single. Did you dress up as the Headbangers once?
Yeah, I did. On an episode of Heat, 6-man tag, I believe I got pinned by Viscera. Was that the match? 6-man award. That's when they were doing the big, like, the big bra things. Remember they came out with the pointy bras, the Madonna
like the
things?
Madonna ones, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chaz and Glenn, I've known them since the Indies before I was even in WWE. They're Northeast guys. They were trained at the Monster Factory. I believe both of them with Larry Sharp. Both excellent workers. I was happy to see them when they won the tag belts during the early Attitude Era, I believe, in 96, I think.
97. Yeah, 97. I think they won it from maybe the Godwins? I think they lost it to the Godwins, yeah.
They were involved with the Godwins there. Yeah, these guys could work, man, and they were impressive. You should watch them in Smoky Mountain. They were really impressive in Smoky Mountain. I got to wrestle with them, not again. I think I wrestled against them maybe on one of the WrestleMania Access shows. Like they used to do the week of Access and have matches where the actual displays were and everything. I believe I might have wrestled one or both of them. I know I wrestled Pete Gas when he started to really get good before getting released. And he was really getting in shape and he was really good. But yeah, the Headbangers. And I know Chaz and Glenn still working today at South Florida, I think, on the Indies.
I think you're right. Yeah. The Headbangers actually won the vacated tag titles because it was Dude Love and Steve Austin were the champions. And Austin, I guess he had to vacate because Austin had the neck injury with Owen. And then the Headbangers lost to the Godwins a month later. Bad Blood, which was also the day that I know for a fact Brian Pillman died. Or the morning of, or the night before. Because that was a really weird show all the way through.
Yeah, but speaking about the Headbangers, yeah, those guys should have actually, and they won. Didn't they wrestle in NWA recently in the past year? I think they made a surprise appearance.
They did a WWE like cameo kind of thing with a match a few years ago as well. Kind of the same era as like the Spirit Squad did randomly, I think. Like they just turned up for a minute. So sorry, they went back 2016 for a couple of matches. They lost to Heath Slater and Rhino. And also the Usos. I think that's when, well, that's after the Heath Slater, or was Heath Slater bringing out the Legends after him and Rhino teamed up, or was that before? I can't remember. It's too long ago. I don't know. But you are right. They wrestled on the NWA Sarwin pay-per-view, most famous for... the Coke Party. Yeah. There you go. So it's not known for the Headbangers returning. It's for Father Jim Mitchell doing a table full of beak with a bunch of random people. How about that? We should not watch that and review it. Yeah, we should. Good Lord. Because you know that pay-per-view that I read was only bought like a few hundred times. And more like... was it bought after the fact to see the party? I don't even know if they did a replay. I don't know. All I know is that I read a review of it, and the person who reviewed it said it was the worst pay-per-view of the year. Even without the booking of those segments. But even something like that where you want to harken back to the origins and the simplicity of old school wrestling. No, and then you got a cocaine party in there. But what I'm saying is, like, they could be the alternative in such a simple way to do, because how many matches do we watch was like, man, they kept it pretty simple, but man, it was easy to digest and it was enjoyable. It was nice and easy to follow. They could have a promotion that has all that. Billy Corrigan's he's a very educated fan.
He knows his stuff. He appreciates the sport of pro wrestling.
He thought Tyrus would be a good heavyweight champion.
Well, I know what he did was he basically put himself in that realm of trying to get publicity.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on Fox and Friends every night, or the Gutfield 5 or the 5, whatever you call it. So he got exposure. The only thing is, anytime you do that, who's going to watch wrestling except for that one novelty, curiosity time to see Tyrus? And then you say, all right, I saw the thing.
You should watch. I don't know if it's against Matt Cardona or EC3 or whoever it is, but there's. I think it might have been EC3 where he loses the belt, Tyrus does, and he's so immobile. It's almost impossible to believe.
I did see a match where he was not moving around very well.
Yeah.
Not at all.
That sort of went all sorts of different ways, didn't it, from the Headbangers originally? It ended up with Tyrus somehow. Right, then let's get to the news.
If you had any follow-up questions about the NWA Billy Corrigan intermission parties that are live on pay-per-view featuring Father James Mitchell, we covered the whole thing.
One of my favourites, Jim, as well. I think such an underrated manager. Right, so let's get to the news then. And WWE Raw, I guess the biggest news of the show, apart from William Regal making a cameo, of course. John Cena is the new Intercontinental Champion. And straight away, a bit of unintentional comedy, I guess, at the beginning, is social media on WWE social media was plugging that John Cena in his hometown, or home state at least, Boston, Massachusetts, he's going to be opening the show, WWE Raw. But would you believe that I couldn't see him at the opening of WWE Raw? Who came out instead, Stevie?
Yeah, it's not the catchphrase, you can't see me. It's what can you see and what can't you see. By the way, I believe it's more important. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. It's much more important to be trained in the Massachusetts area by Killer Kowalski than to live in the Massachusetts area. So there we have our explanation right there. Here's what I want to open up with. Why do people get mad at us when we bring this up, when people get mad at the fact that it happened? What is it about when we bring it up that people have such a visceral reaction to us just pointing out the obvious that this dude just can't help himself? And I love it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Unless that Katie Vick pre-tape has caused him to become a monster today. Maybe that was the origin story, much like Piper with the bagpipes.
Well, yeah, why couldn't Adam Pearce have done this?
Because Turkey doesn't like that.
No, that might be a point.
That's an excellent question. Adam Pearce is the matchmaker of every single match, right? Except for this one.
Unreal. WWE Unreal, starring Triple H.
This is the real Unreal of the Unreal. So you're saying in the notes, I believe, that he was out there in the middle of this with his face. I mean, this is a recreation of the casino scene for WrestleMania. He's right in the middle of it for over 7 minutes. Is that what you wrote?
No, I wrote that it was 7 minutes into the show or something like that before John Cena even came out.
Oh,
it was just Triple H on its own. And then John Cena came out. Then Dominic Mysterio came out after that. Once again, that segment, including commercials, I think it took us half an hour to get to a match. And it's every Raw, man. And I'll tell you what, I really like that Raw. That's the best Raw they've had in ages. But it's still got the same problems, man. We're talking about John Cena, I know that. But like 30 minutes, just get on with it. Like the old Raws would have 3 matches by that time. You would have, and a promo and backstage vignettes. They would have just got on with it. Speed it up.
All right, let me bring this up because this show, although the good points about this show, one of them is going to be gone in a month or two. What are you going to do then? Here's the other thing. It's easy to book this show. They made it way too hard. And also, why did you not make the whole night about Cena and make Cena and Dominic the main event and leave with Cena holding the IC belt? Like, it was like in and out. Did Cena have somewhere to go?
I kind of wondered that because he did that with Sami Zayn on SmackDown not too long ago either. He had to be in the opening match. So genuinely, I think he just wanted to just make sure he was right for his flight home.
Yeah, but this is about John Cena in his hometown for the last time before he retires. Wouldn't you want to make the whole thing a tribute to Cena with Dominic disrespecting him throughout the show and they make the match? And by the way, with Cena winning the IC title right before that, I believe they could have milked this a lot more. It was a mistake to do it. If you're going to do it and you want to put the most amount of heat on somebody, and if you're not going to give Cena the proper tribute and Triple H is out there for 7 minutes before he even comes out, what I would have done is have Cena and Dominic work throughout the show, have a story throughout the show, and maybe Cena does win the Intercontinental title from Dominic at the end, but Dominic lays Cena out and stretches him out, and that's the end of the show. To where they have the rematch in Washington, which is his last match.
It was over 8 minutes. I just checked. I'm looking at Netflix. It's 8 minutes 20 in, and Triple H is still in the ring on his own. You came up with a wonderful allegory or comparison to what Triple H looked like in between John Cena and Dominic Mysterio earlier before we were recording.
Oh, yeah, it's that scene from Eastbound and Down, and basically Will Ferrell has the Ric Flair haircut, and he's standing between them the whole time, taking the focus off the stare down between the two guys, and he's just there. And, of course, all Triple H had to do was say the uncomfortable monologue that you knew word for word when we were talking about it on the pre-show.
Yeah, it's like, I tell my young son Gabriel, I said, no, let the boy watch. And my wife, Donna, I make love to my wife, Donna. She tries to get away because she does not like it. I got the air conditioning up to 82, so it's uncomfortable. It's hot. And then at that point, they're falling apart. And it just doesn't go anywhere.
Would you have fell on the floor if Triple H started reciting those lines line for line?
If he started growing hair out, then all of a sudden became blonde. You know that Will Ferrell is meant to be Ric Flair in that because he does woo, but he just goes woo like that. He doesn't do the whole.
Does he like Bret Hart? Woo.
Yeah, woo,
woo. So anyway, getting back to this whole thing, like I do feel like this whole the whole scene of return, the heel turn, the retirement tour, they have botched it. And according to a lot of people, Cena's calling all the shots with this. I have a little bit of trouble believing that.
So Cena's saying the exact opposite. He's saying he just shows up and they tell him what to do. So I like how both WWE TKO management and John Cena are trying to pass the book on to each other.
Yeah.
As far as like the booking of his last match. Okay, firstly, let's get to the match itself, and we'll get to the booking and then the follow-up booking. Dominic Mysterio comes out, one of my favourites, I'm sure one of your favourites as well, especially with all the What Went Rights that you've done recently. And you can definitely tell when they do it, but as soon as he starts speaking and they start going, the sound desk cranks up the audio volume straight away. Boo! There's been suggestions that there's piped in boos. You think?
Well, with Dominic, so? I don't think they're piped in as much, but I felt like they did sweeten it. We call it DJ Jazzy Def because this guy turns the crowd sound up so loud, just like when they try to cut out the boos on certain things. I think the Boston crowd, they did not appreciate the fact that these fans are aware, just like the Saudi Arabia announcement of WrestleMania 43 and them basically chanting in Australia, right, against that call. Here we have Boston. I think they turned the crowd down at a certain point because they knew we aren't getting Cena's last night. The greed of TKO and WWE have shown through. And you were looking at ticket prices that Washington, D.C. show outside of resellers is not sold out. I know it's going to sell out, but my God, dude, they're playing with fire. They're just milking it for all it's worth.
We'll get to that probably with the Mark Shapiro thing coming up next in the next segment with ticket prices and everything else as well. With John, talk about the match itself. I mean, kind of by the numbers, but once again, we just watched The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan. It's like, it didn't need to be anything else. Like, you've already got, aside from the old Hulk Hogan things, you've already got their money, brother. Kind of thing.
Yeah,
but you don't need to do anything else.
But at the same time, you have Dominic Mysterio with probably more heat than anybody in the company. You got Cena on the retirement feel-good tour. And I think people didn't expect Cena to beat him I didn't expect him to win the title. especially where he was, and it feels good. It feels like a feel-good moment. But is this the best send-off for John Cena? And what's going to happen in the Intercontinental title? Is Dominic going to win it back before Washington, and now you have to reset Cena before Saturday night's main event? This is very weird. It feels like there's no thought put into this.
I think Dom should then enter into the Last Time Is Now tournament and win it, and then win the belt back, which then brings up the situation of, because John Cena apparently really wants to put over some young up-and-comer, like Brock Lesnar, like The Undertaker did. But he wants to make a star on the way out, which means that doesn't he have to lose his last match? Isn't that going to be a bit of a dampener? Or we saw it with Goldberg a few months ago in Atlanta, his hometown. Does it matter in this day and age if somebody loses their last match?
I don't think it matters, and I think it might speak to Cena's legacy more to put somebody over in the last match. The ultimate, like Tommy Dreamer was so selfless. When he won the ECW title, he lost it right away to Justin Credible. Or once he pinned Raven, he had Lawler come in and Cornette, and it was another battle to fight. He could never enjoy any success. He always fighting from underneath. If that's the case, if Cena's going to put somebody over in his last match, it should be Dom. But then again, at the same time, why not lay Cena out or have some heat on Cena in his hometown carrying over to the last match? In other words, make it a 1 to 2 month storyline with Dom. Unless they're going to do that, but I don't see. It felt like there was a period at the end of this match and obviously this show where Cena didn't even stay for the whole show.
I'm trying to have a look at as many names as possible for the Last Time Is Now tournament. They haven't even released brackets yet, and also one person's already a mystery opponent, so we don't know who it is. I've heard Jeff Hardy is a name for that, but
Cena relinquished the title. He vacated the title, and they're having a tournament now.
No. This is just to determine his final opponent. He's still the IC champion.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Rusev's through. Karen?
It would have to be Dom. Go through the list.
Yeah, I was going to say Rusev is through, Sheamus is through, and then for SmackDown we've got LA Knight versus mystery opponent, The Miz versus Jey Uso, and then next Monday we've got Solo Sikoa and Gunther versus Javon Evans. I think the feeling was that it was going to be Gunther winning. But then again, what's it going to do for Gunther, who's already been a world champion, to now be an IC champion again if he wins and then wins the belt? I don't think he gets the benefit that someone like a Ray, or obviously like a Javon Evans, or even an LA Knight would get from beating John Cena. But who, if it isn't Dom, who would you like to see face John? Would it be Chris Jericho?
You know what? That could be another one. People floated around The Miz, because The Miz and I'm just saying, but this is where we're stuck. Who do I think would be it's the one guy you can't because he's lost 60 pounds, but you bring back The Rock for that last match because they had 2 WrestleMania matches. He's right up there with him, but I don't think that's going to happen for sure because obviously Rocky was going through some health stuff and had to drop all that weight. It's hard to say, man. Triple H?
Why not? The young up-and-comer he could do with the win.
Yeah. Young line. Rookie match. Dude, it'd have to be Dom. Nobody has more steam than Dom right now. Nobody has more storyline ingrained with Cena losing the title right now. I honestly don't know who it could be that people won't be like, oh, even Rusev. It's not Rusev coming out on a tank at WrestleMania. It's a different Rusev.
Okay, right. So Chris Jericho, the name that keeps coming up. So we know that his AEW contract is running up at the end of the year. People think it's December, but let's say that it does run up in time and he can jump to WWE and do the final match. Is that kind of a wasted final match then? Because, I mean, because it's Jericho. He's 55, man. I mean,
and also if Jericho
benefit?
Comes back, you want to have Jericho come back, make an impact, make him a special attraction. You're just literally going to waste all that honeymoon period with Jericho coming back in order to have that match. Nah, it's got to be Dom. unless you bring somebody in debuting, but then that's the worst place to come in and debut unless you're beating Cena. But what does that mean? Because then they have no heat, no steam. I don't know, man. They've booked themselves into a corner here.
So that's what I was going to bring up next, and we'll get to the ticket prices in a second with John Cena. But I find it interesting they're doing a tournament so close to the date, because then you have, when you finally establish the contender or the opponent, you've got so little time, probably as little as a week, if not even less, to actually try and develop some sort of storyline between Cena and the winner to heat up the match even further. Basically, it's John Cena's final match. That's the only selling point where you could add even more to it. I mean, you've got the Intercontinental title added to it now. But, what's it? Personal issues equal money, or whatever Jerry Jarrett had on his wall. And that's the one thing missing from John Cena's final match.
Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to split hairs, they probably should have stuck with the heel turn up until the last month or so, or 2 months, to where he does the turn. Remember we talked about maybe after SummerSlam, he turns babyface or something happens. The only thing I can see happening is if they recreate the WrestleMania 40 finish for this match and they bring out everybody from the past, the Rusevs. Ray comes in on Dom if the match against Dom. You have The Rock showing up. You have everybody, Taker show, everybody from Cena's history. Kurt Angle. You have everybody, like the smoke and mirrors of all the exhales of the callbacks. Oh, I remember that. I remember this. I remember that. You know what I mean? They have to really dress up this match with a ton of cameos in that way for Cena. And I don't think they're going to get it. But man, this is a bigger question that needs to be answered right now. Because what we're describing is how many heels can carry the company for baby faces right now? It's really just one, and it's Dom.
And Gunther when he turns back up, and Seth Rollins is gone for a long time, and he's probably going to be a babyface. And Braun Breaker isn't the guy because no one wants to boo that guy. Really.
Yeah, but if they had taken care of Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker as singles guys, now you have the choice of too many choices. Like, wow, we got a ton of, if LA Knight was figured in. See, what happened was they booked him to a certain point with the LA Knight version to get beat by Roman Reigns and then put right back down in there. You know who might be the best opponent for Cena? That's a wild card. Wild card, pal. Logan Paul. They've already had a match, but Logan Paul winning the Intercontinental title from Cena in his final match. I don't know. Is Logan Paul in the tournament?
Not announced as yet.
He might be the mystery opponent.
He's, I think he's focusing, I guess, on War Games. I think he's part of the War Games match for CM Punk and Jey Uso and the third guy, I can't remember at this point. Right. One more thing. It was interesting that Finn Balor, he tweeted the next, probably later that night or the next morning, what a wonderful day it is, which is obviously an allusion to Judgment Day breaking up because they're all jealous of Dom. So I suspect that they don't want to pull the trigger on that just yet because, the whole heel run with Dominic has still got a lot of steam behind it before he turns babyface.
I forgot he was even in Judgment Day. They haven't mentioned that at all with him.
Right then, we have to talk about, since we're talking about John Cena, we'll get to what Mark Shapiro said as a sort of a trail-off from that, but we have to talk about the John Cena tickets, right? So they've actually got 14,000 or so out when I checked a few days ago. But then you go on the actual Ticketmaster website. So the arena itself for basketball, and I think they've got the small stage setup. So, they've got the floor seats and the small stage setup. So it's still probably over 20,000. And they've blocked off like 4,000 seats, like 12 blocks already that they're not selling seats for at the moment. So you go on Ticketmaster and you look at it and you realize how many resale tickets there are. It's like thousands almost. It's probably over 1,000 resale tickets they've got. So the reason I suspect that is because a lot of scalpers got in on the pre-sale, bought up tickets, and hadn't realised just how unbelievably expensive they were for the regular fan, because the pre-sale had 60,000 people in the queue waiting to buy these tickets, and only a small percentage of those people actually bought tickets, because the get-in price is $500 for the nosebleed seats. Basically, you can get a few for about $450, like before taxes. It did include the Ticketmaster fee, but not taxes. But I think I said this on my video. Family of four, let's call it $500 for nosebleed seats. Include your fuel and your food and your drink and everything like that. That's $2,500 for a night out, or you could buy a massive TV and watch every show.
And have money left over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. We want to do that video talking about how much does it cost to be a WWE fan in 2025. I know we've been prepping for it. We got the green screen, so that might help with it. But man, how are people surviving in general who don't go to wrestling shows? It's tough enough for anybody to survive right now with everything going on with the economy, with the world, with unemployment, with a ton of things going on that feels like everything is about to collapse economically. But man, this is like let them eat cake kind of thing. This is like pretty much the elitist just saying, like, here you go. And for some reason, we had a 2-year period where people were buying it up. That honeymoon period, the prices were there. The prices were expensive 2 years ago, right? When TKO took it over. But then they said, hold.
Dude, it's
hold
like they've doubled it in a
price.
year. It's like they've doubled it since last year. Seriously. And then they
As
doubled it from the year
product quality
before.
declines. As
Yeah,
the product
exactly.
quality, it's really just trash right now. I don't care what anybody says. You can have little moments here and there. We talk about one-on-one rights where like Logan Paul selling the back of his head is like the biggest moment of the show for me. I'm not paying $500 to see that from the 700 level with a pillar in front of me. So we're like, yeah, in our seats where you got the pillar right in front of you, you're paying $400 or $500. Good
Limited
Lord,
view,
what are we
restricted
doing?
view, yeah. I don't have to get the map back up. Just for that one show, it was $11,500 just for front row for that one show. This isn't even a pay-per-view. And here's something else that I actually only thought of today, is that John Cena has said, no, I want to have NXT guys on the show. So, okay, then, so you've got John Cena's retirement and a bunch of NXT guys, and you could just go to an NXT show for markedly less money. You could fly down to Florida, get a lovely 5-star hotel, go see an NXT show, see all the guys there, and save a ton of money.
And
doing
probably
it
go
that
to
way.
Disney, which is overpriced.
Yeah. But there's like overpriced and stuff, because I think people were bringing up, it's the same with gig tickets, it's the same with everything ticket. Everything's more expensive, of course, with inflation and post-COVID. All the venues and all the just everyone who was pricing tickets realised that, hey, we need to make up the shortfall for like 18 months of everything being shut. And then when they did, they realised people were paying those prices. So they just kept on putting them up. But my example was, I went to go see Oasis for the equivalent of, I don't know how much it was, probably £140 actually, so it might have been $180 or something like that. That's expensive for a music gig. But that was like a happening. As Oasis returned to Manchester, that's a huge deal. Whereas that's still not even half of the John Cena retirement thing, and we don't even know his opponent.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, for people that, like, I kind of scratch my head, not the one with the stables in it, this side, but I look at this, and if people have countered us on this, if you don't think that they're setting it up to be sold and bought by Saudi Arabia, then you're foolish. There's no other way to cut salaries, cut people, raise ticket prices, never talk about the amount of people, but talk about the gate, the money you drew, the merch you sold. You're literally setting it up to be sold. You're lowering all your overhead as much as possible, inflating the portfolio, so that way you maximize the amount of money you sell it for. That's all they're trying to do.
SmackDown. Now, I know it's not entirely fair because they ran Halloween night and then they also ran Salt Lake City 2 days in a row. But November 1st was not Halloween for Saturday night's main event. That I think did less than 8,000. And the writing's not entirely been on the wall, but the last few weeks, SmackDown has been well below average of the first 3 quarters, well below. 4,000, less than 5,000, about 7,000 for the last 3 weeks, I think. And SmackDown itself has been worse than Raw as far as booking goes. They've been really lackluster shows for months now. And I just think because, there was the perception at the beginning of 2025 still that, the hottest ticket in town, people were buying tickets months in advance at the inflated prices. And now the prices have got even higher. And now the creative since WrestleMania 41 hasn't been there. In fact, on the day of WrestleMania 41, when Travis Scott walked out instead of The Rock, that was like an absolute cast iron line of where fans started giving up a little bit, I think.
That was the ultimate bait and switch that they got, and they never recovered. I want to say this for everybody, and you got the Vince McMahon thing in here. This is a good segue. I remember there was a show, and one of the agents or somebody was telling Vince, because the house was very light, pre-sale was light, and the house shows that weekend were very light. And the agent was telling Vince, well, we had baseball this night, it could have been the circus or a concert. He was giving all the excuses as to why people were siphoned away from the WWE event and went to these things. And Vince said this, and this proves how much it's been a 180, because they use that excuse every time for all the companies, not just WWE. Vince said, if we gave them a product that was worth buying a ticket for, they would be here. I'm paraphrasing it, but he basically said, don't blame all these others. We need to put a good product out so we can beat those other events. What do they do now? Well, NBA playoffs, NFL, they use every excuse in the book. If you don't have a good product, they're not going to come. If you do have a good, consistent product, they're going to choose it over others.
I think it's consistently average. I think that's the problem. I don't even think it's terrible. I just think there's not enough meat on the bone on every single show, and it's just average. There's nothing to get too excited over. It's just
put it this way: you didn't even
booking.
know Survivor Series was coming until you saw the obligatory. Oh, everybody's starting to team up. 3-4 people in a group. Must be time for Survivor Series, right? They just have the same playbook for the calendar year, and they just pull it out and do everything, team them up, do whatever, and then the business next is going to be every man for himself with Royal Rumble, because Turkey likes that.
Turkey does like to enjoy the show. Mark Shapiro, he's the TKO president, basically second in command. He gave this quote to it wasn't so much a podcast, I think, like some sort of like convention or something like that. Anyway, quote, and yet they're open to new ideas. He's referring to theirs in Nick Khan and Triple H and WWE as a whole. They never seem exhausted. They're ready to take on a new shot, a new risk, a new opportunity. Hey, Nick, let's talk about launching a new event. Right now, a lot of our PLEs were created by Vince McMahon. We need to get in the business of taking that torch and moving past that. And Nick Khan and Triple H created WrestlePalooza, which is the launch event for our new ESPN deal, which did incredibly well and may turn into a super franchise. Not to mention from a merch standpoint, I don't need to tell you, securing the IP rights and then selling merch at WrestlePalooza, let's just say it's a real winner. Now, this paragraph came out a few days ago and is kind of baffling for several reasons. Let's do it in order. One, right now, a lot of our PLEs were created by Vince McMahon, and we need to get in the business of taking that torch and moving past that, which is telling me that anything basically created under Vince McMahon's watch or by Vince McMahon, they see as something that needs replacing.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that too. Oh, by the way, a little Easter egg, and this was during the Vince era. They wanted to rename WrestleMania Mania. And I know there was a secondary show, WWF Mania. They wanted to take the wrestling out of it because they felt like the wrestling put too much of a stigma of the show. What the hell did you think you were going to show up and see? Bunch of maniacs? Like a show of crazy? Well, that's true too. But yeah, that's they wanted to take wrestle out of WrestleMania because it was too wrestling.
Why did they try and take the numbers out for a few years as well? I've presumed it's like a legacy thing. They didn't want it like, oh, we don't want people to know that it's decades old, this show. But it's like, well, Super Bowl does it quite well.
It felt like an old show, and I was thinking, I heard those in not meetings, but people coming out of meetings. Oh yeah, he wants to take the numbers off. He wants to take Wrestle off. So like to me, it's like when you do WrestleMania in the 40s, like you've been around for over 40 years. It's a legacy. It's just crazy how now it's not just wrestling. Like everybody wants to erase whatever you can hang on to for nostalgia, for legacy, for that callback. You definitely want to have callbacks from WrestleMania 40, but let's not call it WrestleMania 40. They want to have it both ways. They keep reading. It's crazy.
WrestleMania play button, I seem to remember, was one of them because no one knew what to call it. Right, okay, it's a big club and you aren't in it. Well, one, it's a small club and you aren't in it, but two, intelligence isn't a prerequisite to be in this club because apparently from Vince McMahon to Mark Shapiro and everyone else, what a pack of dumbasses. To just like try and monkey with the formula. One of the few things that is working here are the legacy names. Why try and change it? Is it for your own ego, or is it because you so want to be distanced from Vince McMahon? But you just want to leave your own stamp, isn't it?
They don't want to do what's right. They don't want to do what's most meaningful. They want credit for creating it, like you said. They don't care about that. They just want to say we create. Dude, get to WrestlePalooza, the origin of WrestlePalooza. He couldn't have been more wrong about that.
Right. So one, Paul Heyman was using EC because I used this argument. Right. Okay. You want to get rid of everything Vince McMahon used, but for some reason that bastion of all that's good and pure in wrestling, Paul Heyman, you're happy to steal from him, which Mark Shapiro doesn't even realize came from ECW, and that didn't come from ECW because that came from an episode of Married with Children, which was a parody of Wrestling with King Kong Bundy and Bud Bundy. But here's the thing. I didn't realize this. I think someone wrote to me and said that WrestlePalooza, WWE didn't actually own the IP for. Someone else trademarked it, and then they had to buy the trademark or negotiate the trademark away from this person or entity that ended up trademarking WrestlePalooza, because apparently no one else wanted it for years.
Well, I think you and I need to go on a certain website and see what's trademarked and what isn't. Can have another stream of income.
Stevie Richards. Finally get that back.
No, I don't want that back.
Okay.
I'll gain 60 pounds and lose my hair. I don't want that back.
Dear me. Shapiro a few months ago was the one lambasting Vince McMahon for targeting families with the WWE ticket pricing. Now, we remember that.
I forgot about that. Oh, my God.
It's like originally he was all for distancing himself from Vince McMahon, and he still met up with him socially afterwards. But then also he's one of the driving forces to gouge fans out of as much money as humanly possible. And a lot of people who write in the comments when I talk about ticket prices, which is something I talk about a lot, is, man, my family saved up to get nosebleed seats, but it was so great to be there for the first time, just to witness everything live and the atmosphere and the arena and everything, and the whole experience. Well, especially for Cena's last match, but even, look, your average Raw now in the States, the buy-in for the worst seats is 120. So if you're a family of three, or let's call it family of four, what's that? $500 basically. Maybe a little more with the taxes.
Before concessions, before food, before parking, before gas money. You got to factor everything into it.
Or buy a Nintendo Switch 2.
Or just, I guess here's a little bit of a theory. Is their ploy to make the $30 a month for ESPN seem, or even ESPN and Peacock per month, seem affordable to somebody? Because when you look at ticket prices, you look at the streaming prices, you're obviously going to be like, this is a better deal.
With WrestlePalooza, Shapiro was also saying, I think it was estimated like an extra 125,000 people signed up for ESPN. And it was attributed to WrestlePalooza. But with the amount that ESPN are paying WWE, I worked out roughly that they would have had another 850,000 signups. 850,000 signups in total to break even with the WWE PLE thing. And TKO, the UFC branch, signed a $7.7 billion distribution deal with Paramount for 7 years. There is not a chance in hell that they will ever recoup that money either. So it's just being positioned as the market leader in sport, in your chosen sport, or even with pro wrestling, that it just seems to be that people are throwing money at you, even though they can't possibly make a profit from it.
Yeah, there's some money marks at ESPN and Paramount right now. You can definitely tell. And those deals, guess what? The price for Saudi Arabia keeps going up when those deals are done. I want to say this because this is the scary part, and a lot of places are doing this right now. Do you think WWE is going to come out with a credit card for buy now, pay later for your tickets, for your WWE, and you get a little bit of a discount? You get first dibs on the tickets, but it's buy now, pay later.
Yeah, that's like Amazon or Klarna or something, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to go. They already do the credit card commercials, but what if WWE has their own buy now, pay later with high interest rates, and it's another source of income for TKO?
So do you think Mark Shapiro and the gang at TKO is turning Vince McMahon babyface after all these years?
Yeah, a guy with 19 NDAs, a guy who obviously it's come out with a lot of things we talked about on this show, amongst other things throughout the decades. Yes, Vince McMahon is actually not as bad as TKO from a creative or administrative sense. And that's saying something because Vince is not a good human being. So he might be a bit bipolar and have a good heart at times, but deep down he's very, and you want to talk about, we talked about how to touch Vince. Like Vince looks so much more in touch than when it comes to these people. These people are, dude, if you're giving TKO, and I'm going to keep saying TKO and not WWE, it's the same company. If you're giving TKO this kind of money and all they keep doing is saying, not enough, you got to pay more, not enough. You know what? Vince loved families. F those families. Here's your prices. They're literally, dude, this is a Christmas Carol. And TKO is playing the part of Ebenezer Scrooge. And we're not going to get Christmas morning where he throws the coin out to the little orphan kid. Not going to happen.
No, do you know what he's going to throw out?
If anything, he's going to get the forklift driver who almost killed Roman Reigns come in and run that kid over.
No, the Grinch or Ebenezer Scrooge is going to throw out a piece of Slim Jim at the orphan. And say,
he's going to put the kid through a Slim Jim table. That's what he's going to. Ha. But hey, by the way, they TKO, just like Vince did in a lot of ways, they think they're the baby faces. They think they're doing the people a favor. They think what they have is great. Your product sucks. Yeah. How's that?
Okay, one more bit of news. We're going to be going with Nixon, Newell, and Miranda Elise or Elise. I kept saying it Elise. Apparently it might be Elise. Whatever it is, it's Miranda. Anyway, it's a girlfriend tag partner as well. In real life as well as wrestling. So, the former Tegan Nox in WWE, she was a marginal talent at best, I think it's fair to say. She was there for like 7-8 years. Tons of injuries, at least 2 ACL tears and other stuff. She was in, she was out, never really got going, never really figured in. Anyway, a few months ago, she was complaining that she wasn't getting many bookings after her WWE release in November 2024, saying it was like a nightmare. So, I'm reading from that, she needs the work. Now, Miranda Elise, or however you say it, she hasn't done anything of note in wrestling apart from indie work and a few matches in Ring of Honor over the past couple of years, and that's pretty much it. I figure she needs the work as well. So, a couple of weeks ago on AEW Collision, there was a tag team match, their debut in the ring at least, with now Nixon Newell, she's called Tegan Nox, and Miranda. They lost to Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir, two of AEW's bigger name women's stars, in 2 minutes 26. Now, there was already a point of contention apparently backstage that they were surprised that the tag team was brought back a second time because it was said that Megan Bayne was very upset with them because she felt that the Nixon and Miranda was sandbagging her on a German suplex spot, and her, Face of Thunder, Megan Bayne's Face of Thunder, was actually real because she was really upset that she felt that they were sandbagging her, basically. Anyway, they came back. They'd went on the next AEW Collision, or they were supposed to, in fact, because the plan was for the duo to wrestle Anna Jay and Ty Mello. The creative was the match had 3 minutes because it's a television show and you're giving you minutes beforehand. And the girls were going to lose again. Not a squash match per se, they were going to get some offense in, but a decisive win for Anna Jay and Ty Mello. Once again, they were not signed to AEW, by the way. This needs to be brought up. And Anna Jay and Ty Mello do have name recognition, of course. So Alazy and Newell questioned why they weren't given more time. And then they were told that the time was given beforehand. It's a television show. It's formatted. We can't just give you 10 minutes just because you asked for it. And basically, they wouldn't do it. They were told to go home because they were not cooperating. Now, once again, I have to point out that one of the two has been complaining that they're not getting any bookings, and the other one has never got booked in a major promotion. And, it's a step up for her. Here's the quote. "We were polite, we were respectful. We called our producer over and we said, hey, I don't think 3 minutes are going to benefit either of us. Not just us, but everyone in the tag team. And we want what's best for everyone." That was their quote, and they were told to go home after this. So there's a lot to digest there. I'm sorry, Stevie, but from the beginning, what do you make of it all?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. There's a lot to digest as far as the chronological order of this whole thing, but you have two people, two talents in a world. We talked about the economy earlier with the ticket prices during this full episode with WWE. They could use the work, they want the bookings, and it's almost a blessing in disguise. And I wish they would have looked at it this way. Nobody's going to remember you did 2 jobs on Collision or whatever show it is, even if it was Dynamite. But your thing is, much like we talked about in the Dr. Stevie TNA episode, the opportunity to reinvent yourself, to come in there, be a member of the team, and also it's a promotion with television, a promotion with pay-per-views. A guy who's known to be very generous, and once you're signed, he keeps you. You don't really go anywhere when you're in AEW, when you're not working, when you're doing things. They're always trying to find a place between Dynamite, Collision, Ring of Honor, maybe some indies. This was the perfect opportunity for Tegan Nox to reinvent herself and have a steady, consistent resurgence of her career, which never had an initial run. If you think about it in WWE, it was very much more stop than start. She had an opportunity to stand out. She's there with a real life girlfriend. They're both getting an opportunity to team up on TV and also ingratiate themselves to the locker room. When you come into a new company, a new locker room, you're going to have to, for lack of a better word, eat crap. They are going to test you on some level to see if you're going to be cooperative. This was a test. And really, with the TV match, 3 minutes, dude, 3 minutes, some Raws and SmackDowns, I was begging for 3 minutes, including entrances. And when you're a worker, you figure out how to get over, or in their case, with the first 2 matches, the most important thing in those matches is to make those other 2 girls look good. 4 total. You have, 2 opponents in each of the 2 matches. To make Tony Khan go up to the girls you worked and say, hey, how was it? And like, you really need to sign them. They really had a great attitude. They made us look like $1 million. No one's ever took my German suplex that well. We want to work them again. I just described my entire career in ECW and probably WWE. We want to work him. He bumps well. He sells. He's easy to work with. He'll take our stuff. You need to ingratiate yourself with everybody in the company. They did the opposite. They literally looked a gift horse in the mouth. Because dare I say it, even if they got $50,000 a year each from Tony Khan, that's still a living wage for the amount of times they'd probably work. They messed up. They made a really bad calculated error. And now they're not going to get called back because 4 people that have been figured in to some degree, right? 4 girls, they're going to go no. And the other girls that watch that are going to go no. Some of the guys who may be friendly or dating the girls or involved with that, no. They created a political situation that they really can't fix. What do you think about that?
Well, I've already thrown my thing in.
I mean,
I've done videos
what
on
I
it.
said, do you agree with that? That they kind of shot themselves in the foot?
Yeah, they've killed their own careers basically. Because
But they didn't have a career in the first place.
That's the point. Like, one of them may have done, but obviously she wasn't getting booked in the run-up to the AEW match. So basically, you're basically a no-name again. You need to build yourself on the ground. And the other one was a no-name. You have no leverage. Why are you arguing?
But what I'm saying is you had opportunity. Your internal... Here's what's more dangerous than the wrestling bubble, James, and everybody watching and listening. Your internal wrestling bubble. That you think that you were part of this important moment, important match. You had a push in NXT. You were on the main roster for a month. A month in wrestling is a lifetime. 6 months, a year. Nobody remembers. But the great part about that is that nobody remembered Tegan Knox. And nobody knew who the other girl is. And by the way, you have a brand new name. So you're actually a brand new wrestler that has 0 matches in pro wrestling. That's a blessing, not a curse. You can do jobs for 6 months, get yourself over politically backstage, and guess what they do? They end up pushing you. Aren't the four girls that we're discussing that they were supposed to put over, weren't they in the same exact spot months, if not years ago?
Yeah, and there was Willow Nightingale and Powerhouse Hobbs and I can't remember her name. The one with the puppet.
It's a carousel. It's like a merry-go-round where you're going to get pushed, then you're going to get cooled off, get pushed again. But if the paycheck's coming in, who cares? They did it. They made a really, really big mistake, and now they're not going to get booked on the Indies or anywhere else.
The comedy of this is that they say, hey, this 3-minute match isn't going to benefit anybody. Well, yeah, it will. Anna Jay and Ty Mello, they'll look like a couple of world beaters beating you. Well, not world beaters, but you know what I mean. They'll benefit. What you meant was it wouldn't benefit you. And once again...
But it would. But it would.
Yeah.
It absolutely would for the most important reasons. What you complained about. Not getting booked. And more importantly, not getting paid. And in AEW, not getting booked doesn't mean you're not getting paid. Your job, you had 1 job, 2 jobs technically, but even 10 jobs, but in a not a metaphoric sense, but you had 1 job to do with this opportunity. Not get yourself over with the crowd, but get yourself over with the office, and most importantly, with the talent. If you got to kiss some butt, if you're in there with somebody not as talented as you, guess what? You make them look like a world beater. You make them look 10 times more talented than you. That makes a great worker. I feel bad for these girls because, like I said, this economy is garbage right now. And you had the opportunity to make a full-time living, potentially. I'm not saying they were promised a contract, but if you really put your best foot forward, man, Tony Khan, and if he was a fan of yours and everybody was saying how selfless you are, here's the money. We need more people like you in the company. You would actually make other people that were selfish look really bad by killing everybody with kindness. I feel bad for them because I said it 4 times. What an opportunity they just wasted.
It sounds like to me, what a pair of marks. And I mean that in the most derogatory sense. I don't mean like you're a fan or something like that. And you say, no, I mean, they galaxy brain themselves into thinking one of 2 things. They were more important than they were, or they had some sort of leverage, which they didn't.
You know who did that? You know who did that? I'm sorry to cut you off again. NXT. NXT gives you that false positive that you're over, you know what you're doing, that you can work. You know, the hug from Sean and the hat and the kiss on the cheek, all this stuff. And I'm all for encouraging people to be the best part of themselves. But if you think about it, not too many people in NXT get humbled to a point where they see themselves in a overly critical light. That's the problem of the infrastructure of the system in NXT and WWE. This here is the collateral damage. And unfortunately, Tegan Knox, got pumped up, I think, from NXT and the push he got from there, or maybe WWE to an extent. And that poison filtered into her girlfriend, and they both, as a unit, stuck together and cost both of them consistent work and maybe really, really good money.
I can think of a way that someone will say, but Stevie, I remember when you went to Vince McMahon and you told the story. You went to Vince McMahon and you didn't want to lose to Ken Kennedy in 2 minutes or whatever like that. That's the same. When quite clearly, for a number of reasons, it wasn't the same. One, you were contracted. Two, you'd just been told by Vince McMahon what a wonderful job you did with Bob Holly. And then you were coming at Vince with logic, which doesn't matter, obviously.
Well, also, you got to think about my body of work before that, or even before WWE. But let's talk about WWE from 1999, doing whatever I'm asked of, the parodies. But, everything that I was asked to do in every way possible, and that includes Unforgiven, everything I've ever done or asked to do, I never said no to. There's only 2 times I ever said no. Working Brian Christopher, because it was just like he was going off the reservation, wanting suplex on the ramp on a heat match and all this stuff. That, to me, I went and said, this is not going to turn out well. And they switched the match. And guess what? I put Lance Storm over in his retirement match on Heat. So I volunteered to do that. I didn't volunteer to give me the belt. But the Vince McMahon thing was also getting over as the leader of the Right to Censor, getting over with the hardcore title stuff, getting over as a heel, getting over with Victoria, and saying, listen, I don't mind putting him over, but look at what happens when you give me the ball. I can score. Tell me what I need to do. I wasn't going in there saying this does nothing for anybody, which that match really wouldn't have done anything for anybody, but it just didn't make sense in the context of the situation. I wasn't somebody with literally no push ever in WWE, and then somebody who had no matches on television saying the same thing. But everybody's entitled to their opinion. You think it's hypocritical. I was just asking questions. I never refused to put them over. I asked. Then they switched it.
I
think
think it's
home for 9 months.
Paid, at least. It kind of be like in the ECW WWE version of Colin Delaney, or how do you say his name? Delaney. Came in on the second week, went, I'm not losing to that guy. Hey, if I'm going to lose, at least make it a 12-minute match, for God's sake.
I can't lose to Big Daddy V in 2 minutes.
Yeah, give me the belt. Like, he's like Bob Holly in it.
Yeah, but Bob was coached to do that. So, but yeah, okay. I mean, dude, my heart goes out to these girls because you might think it was malicious. I don't think it was. Not you personally, just in general.
Just foolish,
I
though.
think
but
these
like they're in the
girls
30s. I mean, they should know how the world works a little more than this at this point. Or they're just getting horrible advice.
They weren't taught how the wrestling world works because they were in NXT. They were protected in a bubble, and now the bubble burst.
So, on a Twitch live stream, Newell said repeatedly throughout the stream that there was no bad blood on either side. But here's the thing, and I've got 2 points of contention. One, there were many reports to many news outlets. Apparently, they were getting calls from while during Collision was airing, or being recorded, basically, that people were really upset with them. Or I think the phrase that was constantly bandied about is, what a stupid decision they made, which is fine. And they were saying, well, there's no bad blood on either side. Well, I mean, I don't quite know what they're basing that on, for 2 reasons. One, I'm sure Tony Khan, if there was no bad blood, it's because they meant so little that he could just replace them, which he did, and they were replaced and not thought of again. And then on the other side, and I'm sure there is bad blood because I doubt they'll ever be booked in AEW again, and certainly not WWE again. But there's also this. If there was no bad blood on Miranda's side or Tegan Nox's side, then why was Miranda then retweeting fans saying, and there was like 4 of them, there can barely have been any, saying, hey, you shouldn't have lost that first match, or, you should be brought in as a credible tag team, or you are a credible tag team, which they're not, because nobody's heard the tag team before. So if there was no bad blood on that side, why are we doing all these retweets? trying to bolster your case that AEW was booking you badly.
Well,
Keep in mind, once again, they are not contracted wrestlers. They were brought in to do a job.
Yeah, and that's the thing they didn't get. And this is where I wish I could smarten more talents up and tell them, you got to take your ego out of it. It's not about the ego. There's no egos in wrestling, even though there are. You're eventually going to get humbled multiple times. You're going to go up, you're going to go down. Sometimes you're going to stay right there, but you look at your money, and that really, at the end of the day, is what it's all about. But I don't know if this is a recoverable situation. It seems like the odds are stacked against them. And obviously, that generation, you evolve social media, and now they go to social media for confirmation bias to say, we were right. That doesn't help. What they need to do is be now, the only way I guess they can come back from it is to beg for another chance, beg for an opportunity, eat crap for a long time, and dig themselves out of that and prove that they are now humbled and have the right idea. I don't get it. You weren't there to be featured. You weren't there to do anything but win the favor of everybody in the locker room, everybody in the company, Tony Khan, to a point where you're paid in the position to where they go, well, we're paying them, we got to push them. Do you see what I mean? And then people are going to be willing to put you over, because look at how many people they put over without one complaint, without one, maybe we should do it this way. Just, even if it's completely wrong, agree to it, get through it, get your money, and hopefully more promised money will be in the future.
But it means a lot more coming from you, because, you know, you've been in that position so many times where I'm sure you preferred more time or, you know, more wins or that kind of thing. But once again, you were employed just by WWE for 10 years. You were in every major promotion at the time. You know, you built a 30-year career off being easy to work with.
And by the way, to TNA, it didn't even work out. I took the chance. I'm just telling both sides of the story. I took the chance in TNA. I did make a character that was hopefully memorable to some people. I had a great time, had a 2-year, wouldn't say a run, but it was longer than WCW. It was more fabulous than the 4 months in WCW. But also going back there, I made those mistakes. So I understand where both these girls are coming from, the intention in a way, but it's not recoverable to a certain thing unless you want to eat the crap tenfold of what you were going to do anyway. But getting back to my story, I took the chance in TNA to come in for no money, no contract, get over and get a full-time contract. And guess what didn't happen? I didn't get a full-time contract, and I got even less money the second year than the first. But you have to take that chance and know I did everything I needed to do to try to get the opportunity, to try to get the money, and then it was up to them, and they made the decision to say no. But you made the decision easy for Tony Khan, and everybody in the locker room had already buried you to Tony Khan by the end of that night. Trust me. Everybody was talking about you, and it wasn't good. That's not what you wanted. But the only thing I'll leave on a positive note for both of those girls, you may have to do all those things, but here's the beautiful part about pro wrestling. There's always going to be somebody that's going to come along that's going to do something even dumber and get the negative attention of the company. So there may be a chance that you guys could resurrect your careers or have a brand new career. I hope you do. I don't want to see anybody out of work, but unfortunately, they put themselves out of work right now.
Okay, before we shut down the show, we've got the almost obligatory what went wrong. And this is more of a historical one, because I'm not sure there was anything too major that happened in the last week. And this is something that I wanted to explore with you. And it involves Kofi Kingston. And once again, a repeat.
Coffee?
I was calling Kofi, not Kofi.
Okay. Fair enough.
Like the drink, only not spelled the same, you know. Green Ma, man. Anyway, Kingston, Mr. Kingston, if that makes you feel better. And Randy Orton. And supposedly, Kingston did not do what Orton wanted him to do, and it could have cost him his main event or at least sustained push for 10 years because of complaints made in the back. But I want you to run through this and tell me what you think and what went wrong.
This is the stupid what went wrong, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Okay. So right here, stupid. And I know they did a callback on this with Kofi saying stupid to Randy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is again. Ooh, that was a little stink on that. Okay, he was doing I'm going to turn the sound off for this particular part, but man, he pushed against. Did you notice that? He's like pushing down on his throat and neck area with each count. Not very happy.
It's said that the RKO is a particularly stiff one that happens.
Let's go slow-mo with it. Not particularly stiff, but Kofi took a head bump into his shoulder. So I'm wondering with Randy Orton's shoulder history with the injuries, if that jacked his shoulder up a little more and made him even madder than the punt kick. Because obviously Kofi was supposed to be there for the punt, but he wasn't there. But he kind of was. Like, what are we looking at here? There's the punt right there.
Yeah, but he's getting up at that point, isn't he? Where I think he's supposed to be on all fours. He even tries to push him back in position.
Yeah, he's a little low. And also, you want the guy to be kind of there. When he does the punt kick, usually has the whole ring to run across, right? Usually doesn't punt kick him this close to the center. So there is a little position off. He did go down there. That's weird. The timing's weird on this. Because he pushed him down, and what I would have done is just got on all fours and crawled away and put my head down, you know? Very strange. Let's go in slow motion.
You even see that like little head wiggle just before he did it there. It just seems just born out of frustration.
No, Randy does that a lot. A little, kind of. I don't think it's, what's weird about the RKO here? It's not particularly tight. You notice that? Like Randy's usually pretty tight with it, and you're in the shoulder area already to where it's nice and tight. This is almost like a face bump on his shoulder and spiked a little bit.
Does he normally keep his head on the back of the opponent's head that far down?
No, he normally hits like a diamond cutter is literally your chin is in his shoulder. He's got you hooked in that cravat type thing and then goes down with you. It's both guys doing that, and then he sometimes lets go a little bit before the bump. So you just come down and kind of take a chest bump or at least hit across his arm or something. No, there's something weird about the spacing of the RKO in midair, like right here. That's kind of weird. I've never taken this. I've taken the diamond cutter, and it's been a really tight thing where the head's right on the shoulder, on the arm. But
does that lend credence to the theory that he was trying to land a stiff one, so basically put some air between the head and the shoulder and then close up, when he hits the mat?
Do you think it's a two-part what went wrong? Do you think the punt kick and then he took the RKO wrong?
No, I'm wondering if Randy sort of purposely did it that way.
I wouldn't know. I mean, it jams you up anyway, but do you think he was just trying to spike him a little bit? Because normally if you were going to do that, say with a DDT, and it's not right, by the way, but if you're going to send a message to somebody that they messed up and stiffed them with a DDT, you don't let go at all. You take it. It's almost like the Roman Reigns front face lock, and you just fall back and stuff them, but you hold them for an extra couple of seconds as they're jammed into the mat.
What do you make of...
I mean, is this better? They made a joke about this on TV together years later, not too long ago, Has there ever been a behind-the-scenes story where they watched it together or anything?
I don't think so, no. I mean, I wasn't particularly aware of this at all until very recently, which is why I thought it'd be good to actually watch together and try and figure it all out then. So why do you think Kofi Kingston, do you think it's just live TV, the pressure, he just forgot what he was doing completely? Because, I mean, I'm sure that happens more often than people would care to admit.
Well, you think about it, you're out there with Randy Orton and John Cena, so I'm sure he's super nervous. But he was already kind of in position for the pun, but like I said before, he was not far enough away. I don't know. I want to see Randy's face during this. It's a little pixelated. Like, did he say something right there? Watch Randy, slow-mo. What did he mouth there? Did you notice he mouthed something?
No, I think he just swallowed or something like that. I don't think he mouthed anything.
Maybe. I mean, we're splitting hairs with this. Do I think it was inexperience? Maybe to a certain point. But were you supposed to do the punt kick? Because it looks like it's strange with the punt kick. Usually the person is completely knocked out, maybe from an RKO, maybe from some move or something. And then Randy really plays it up to the crowd that he's going to punt kick. And then he kind of like leans into the ropes, you know what I mean? And then he waits for it. It's just very strange the way this is set up for the RKO. And then here it is.
Knowing Randy like you do, and I think I already know the answer with the Mr. Kennedy video that we did, is Randy the type of person to go straight to Vince McMahon and say he effed up?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Randy is very passionate. Randy has a temper that obviously with the Ken Kennedy and obviously here has shown through. Like they peeled the curtain back. You see that something's not quite right. And that's why I can't really interpret it. Like if Kofi's head was pointed in the opposite direction and Randy's waiting for him to turn to take the punt and then gets mad and says, shakes his head, like shrugs his shoulders, hits the RKO and says, stupid, stupid, stupid. There's not enough there to show, like with the belly to back with Kane Kennedy, which by the way, I still contend, it didn't look all that bad. And then Randy no-selling it and pointing and cursing and then slamming the mat. You're like, he's not selling a move. He's mad. But Randy's supposed to set up for the punt kick, which he's very subdued with the setup. And Kofi's selling, but maybe Kofi's not experienced enough to say, okay, if I'm going too fast or going too slow, I need to slow down 2 steps. I don't know. It's very weird. I used to actually communicate with Kofi from time to time about gym equipment. I would love to ask him. And I have it in my mind, maybe it's a Mandela effect, that they sat down together in one of those watch-along things and joked about it because they brought it on TV, like I said, where Kofi reversed it and Randy was selling and he said, stupid, 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 and did something to him.
I'm Googling stuff now. I'll try and... I don't think there's a watch-along, at least one that's available anyway. Is it fair to say that this ended Kofi Kingston's push? Because I think...
Well, temporarily, not.
Well, it's a main event thing, because he didn't get back to like 2019, I think.
No, and they had the New Day and everything, and he definitely got way more over with the New Day. So it might have been doing him a favor. He might not have been experienced enough or ready enough for a top spot at that time. So he got his little receipt on Randy live that they both laughed about, I'm sure. This business is really hard for them to tell you to outwardly show your emotions and turn it up to 11 without things like this happening. You know, it's like football. You can't expect me to play an ultra violent sport and not be completely emotionally charged up during it and then tell me, oh, when the play's over and we blow the whistle, you got to turn it off. It's hard to do.
Around this time, because I know this was just a bit after you left WWE, but was there no such thing as like walking?
I didn't leave.
Well, yeah.
Thank you very much.
We did leave.
I didn't leave. You're welcome back anytime.
We didn't go back. In fairness, would anyone walk through their matches at this point? You know, prior to the show.
Yeah, they would.
Just main event, or
maybe not every single move, but they will walk through something like this.
I'm just going to edit this bit out. One sec. Right, so pretty much after this, from what I'm reading, is that Kingston was no longer in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Yeah, and in the weeks and months that followed, he saw very little television time and was constantly booked to lose.
They pulled him out of that match?
I don't know.
They pulled him?
It just says he was nowhere to be seen in the Money in the Bank ladder match, so I guess he maybe was, or at least figured, or, you know, like assumed to be figured into that. And then all of a sudden he's on the losing streak for months on end, if he was on TV at all.
No, that's my job, to be taken off TV for months at a time. Man, Kofi, I say as babyface on his own, even though they did the Jamaican Me Crazy thing and all that stuff and potential, like, wrestle crap of being my half-brother, you know, as Vince McMahon reminded me about my mom's past for some reason. But Kofi had tons of charisma. Tony. Hey, what are you calling me? Kofi? It's coffee. But he had amazing skills. He was an amazing athlete, still is. And he had a lot of charisma. So I don't think they would have took him off TV for months. They definitely humbled him. That's for sure.
So let's do the outro then. Let's another show that's made nearly 3 hours. I've got to go pick up my child in a short while as well. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with, I think Stevie wants to do Roddy Piper Part 2. We may end up doing that because we've got some Patreon exclusive watch-alongs as well to do with Roddy Piper for WrestleMania 3 and 8 and anything else that comes up as well. But and
also I have a cinematic opening I'm obsessing over right now.
Okay then. Have you got the kilt ready? And the Panther t-shirt?
No, I got the They Live outfit. I got the flannel. I got the jeans to work, but I'm going to wear pants. I'm going to wear a shirt with full sleeves. Everybody, I'm okay, by the way. People go, Stevie's wearing sleeves. Are you see?
He's definitely ill. Right, we're out every single Friday, Eastern 2 p.m. on a Friday, out on all podcast platforms and YouTube as well, in a fresh video YouTube clip every single day as well. Thank you once again for joining us, and over to Stevie to thank the Patreon fans.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody on YouTube here. Please subscribe, click the bell to get notified. Please comment below. We love the interaction. Just to give you a little bit of a preview. Hopefully next week, the what went wrongs, what went rights will be presented differently. If you're a Patreon member, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been testing that obsessively as well. Speaking of Patreon, I want to thank everybody on Patreon. We have two different tiers. $1, thank you, brother. $8 producer tier. And like James had said, watch-alongs every Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, every Monday. Show notes, show before the show, the pre-show, and of course, my obsession with production, behind-the-scenes content, and of course, interaction with everybody on Patreon. I want to thank everybody here for watching episode 71 of the Stevie Richards Show. We'll be back, God willing, with episode 72 next week. Thank you very much. Aha, 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 all you smartasses.